What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to the worst gamer deaths ever. Look at this thumbnail, bro. Apparently somebody died while playing League of Legends because they got a controller stuck in their brain. What the? How does that even happen? Also, this guy died by playing Minecraft. His eye looked like it fell out. This is gonna be a compilation of the craziest gamer deaths ever. So if you're a gamer, watch this video and try not to die. All right, let's go. The StarCraft incident.
2005, 28-year-old Lee Sung-seop entered an internet cafe in Daegu, South Korea. He ordered a soda, logged into StarCraft, and began playing. Hours turned into days. Witnesses said he rarely moved from his chair, taking only short breaks to the toilet. By the second night, he had been at the keyboard for nearly 50 hours. His posture sagged, his eyes bloodshot, but he kept clicking. The cafe manager urged him to stop, but Lee shook his head and loaded another match. At dawn on the third day, he suddenly collapsed. Paramedics arrived quickly, but he was unresponsive. At the hospital, doctors confirmed cardiac arrest brought on by exhaustion, dehydration, and blood clotting from immobility.
Are you serious? This dude went to a cafe and played a game on their Wi-Fi for 3 days straight. It's probably because he didn't have Wi-Fi at home. If he had Wi-Fi, he would have probably just died at his house, but he decided to go to the cafe where they had internet and play the hell out of this game, and he ended up dying from not moving. What the? You cannot, like, a game cannot be that fun, bro. I've played good games in my life. There's no way.
He was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The Pokemon electrocution.
All right, here's the next one.
On July 9th, 2017, in Iloilo City, Philippines, a 12-year-old boy was playing Pokemon Go with friends. They wandered near a construction site while searching for digital creatures. The boy, holding his phone, climbed onto a metal structure close to overhead.
Okay, bro, what? If you guys don't know what Pokemon Go is, it's basically a game where you get to, like, find Pokemon in real life. Basically, this guy, this 12-year-old kid thought he could climb up this freaking telephone pole and catch more Pokemon. Dude, you're dumb.
Had power lines. Witnesses said he lost his balance and reached out for support. His hand made contact with a live electrical cable. A loud crack followed, and he collapsed instantly. Friends screamed for help, and bystanders rushed over. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but the boy showed no signs of life.
Did he catch the Pokemon?
Electrocution. Authorities confirmed that he had been distracted by the game, which led him into a dangerous area. The accident was covered by local news outlets and cited as part of a series of Pokemon Go-related fatalities worldwide, where players, focused on the screen, entered dangerous environments. The Minecraft incident.
All right, here's the
July
Minecraft
19th,
one.
2015, a 17-year-old boy entered an internet cafe in Pampanga, Philippines.
Bro, why is everybody going and playing games in cafes, bro? Play a game at your house.
Logged into Minecraft and began what became a marathon session. Witnesses said he played for almost 3 straight days, taking only brief naps at the desk. Staff grew concerned when they noticed he had not eaten properly and had barely moved from his chair. On the third day, as he leaned forward to type, his body went limp. He collapsed onto the keyboard and did not get up again.
Bro, he was like on his keyboard just typing like
Friends called for help and staff attempted first aid. Paramedics arrived but pronounced him dead at the scene.
Okay, so this is 2 situations where guys have gone to an internet cafe to try to play a game for 3 days straight. Dude, you gotta do other things in your life, bro. You gotta space it out. There's no way you should be playing anything or doing anything for 3 days straight, dude.
Later cited cardiac failure linked to severe exhaustion and dehydration after continuous gaming.
Y'all gotta drink y'all water.
Call of Duty swatting. On December 28th, 2017, 2 Call of Duty players in the United States got into an online argument over a $1.50 wagered match. One player, Casey Viner, asked another, Tyler Barris, to swat his opponent by calling police to his address. Barris dialed 911 in Los Angeles and reported a fake hostage situation in Wichita, Kansas. The address he gave was not his rival's, but belonged to 28-year-old Andrew Finch, who had no connection to the dispute. Police surrounded Finch's home. When he opened the door, officers ordered him to raise his hands. Confused, he moved slightly, and an officer fired a single shot. Finch was killed instantly in front of his family. The case shocked the gaming world. Barris was later sentenced to 20 years in prison, while Viner received a shorter sentence.
Dude, so this guy was arguing with somebody on Call of Duty, and then he decided to call the cops on a random house in Kansas. The guy wasn't even playing Call of Duty with them. He had the wrong address. He thought it was the guy he was arguing with. He thought it was his address. Oh my God, he ended up getting him killed, and then he went to jail.
Sentenced to 20. On December 28th, 2009, 25-year-old Tim Eves from Sittingbourne, Kent, received a Nintendo Wii Fit as a Christmas present. Excited to try it, he began using the console's fitness programs on Boxing Day. Family members later reported that he exercised intensely for several hours with the balance board and aerobic mini-games. That evening, after finishing a work,
Don't tell me this guy was so addicted to the Wii minigames that he died.
he complained of chest pains and shortness of breath. His mother urged him to rest. Minutes later, he collapsed in the living room. Paramedics were called immediately. Despite resuscitation attempts, he was declared dead at the scene. An
Dude.
inquest found that Tim had suffered a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. Though rare, doctors noted that strenuous physical activity can sometimes trigger fatal heart irregularities in young adults.
Wow.
The case was widely reported in the UK as the first known death linked to Wii Fit activity. The Counter-Strike incident. On
Okay.
February 26, 2010, in Chongqing, China,
Of course this is in China, bro. What?
men in their 20s sat in an internet cafe playing Counter-Strike.
Why are y'all playing games in cafes? Am I like missing out? Is this like the new way to do it, bro? What?
They began to argue over strategy and insults in the game. Witnesses said the argument grew heated, with both shouting loud enough to attract attention across the room. One man stood up and pushed the other. Staff intervened and briefly separated them, but the fight continued outside the cafe.
Oh my
The
God.
aggressor grabbed a knife and stabbed his opponent multiple times in the chest and abdomen. Bystanders called for help, but the victim collapsed on the pavement before paramedics arrived. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police quickly arrested the attacker, who admitted to losing his temper during the argument. The killing was widely reported in Chinese media as another example of internet cafe disputes turning deadly. Local
Bro.
authorities used the case to highlight the growing problem of violence connected to online gaming in public spaces.
All right, bro. You know what? All this is teaching me is that you just should not go to a cafe and play games. If you go to a cafe and play games, or if you go to a cafe and you see somebody playing games, get the hell away from them.
GTA incident.
GTA
On August
incident?
3rd,
Oh my gosh.
2008, in Bangkok, Thailand.
Okay, I have a feeling, I feel like somebody's gonna be playing GTA and they're gonna be like, oh my God, this is so fun. I should do it in real life. And then they go steal somebody's car and drive.
18-year-old high school student Paul Watchino.
He is not 18, bro. You really want me to believe that he's 18, bro? He looks like he's 35 and he's got 4 children and a job.
High school student Paul Watchino hailed a taxi late at night. When they reached his destination, instead of paying, he pulled a knife and attacked the 54-year-old driver. He stabbed him multiple times before dragging the body from the car and attempting to drive away. Witnesses quickly alerted police, who intercepted him only minutes later. He confessed that he had been playing Grand Theft Auto and wanted to know what it felt like to hijack a car in real life.
I thought it was a
Investigators said
mission.
He showed no signs of intoxication or mental illness, only fixation on the game.
No. See, no. If you do that, you have a mental illness, bro. Like they said, oh, he doesn't have a mental. Yes, he does. He is stupid, bro. I have played GTA a lot. Like I played a GTA a ton during my childhood, and I never once fully thought, oh, maybe I should go steal a car and kill someone. Come on,
The
dude.
teenager was charged with murder and robbery. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment.
Oh
Thai
my
authorities
gosh.
responded by temporarily pulling copies of
Life?
Grand Theft Auto 4 from store shelves, citing the killing as evidence of dangerous influence. The crime received international coverage and became one of the first game-inspired homicides. The VR incident. On December
VR?
21st, 2017, a
That's
44-year-old
4 days before Christmas,
VR
bro.
incident. On
December 21st, 2017. That's 4 days before Christmas. What?
17, a 44-year-old man in Moscow, Russia, was at home using a virtual reality headset.
Okay.
He moved through his apartment while immersed in the game, unaware of obstacles around him. Investigators later determined that he stumbled while playing and crashed directly into a glass table. The impact shattered the surface, slicing deep into his body. Alone in the apartment, he was unable to call for help. Neighbors reported hearing a loud crash, but did not enter. Hours later, family members found him lying in the living room surrounded by broken glass. He
Dude.
had bled to death from severe wounds to his head and neck.
He's just
Moscow authorities
gaming.
confirmed the accident, noting that it was one of the first recorded cases of a fatality linked directly to the use of a VR headset. The unusual circumstances attracted international attention, with headlines highlighting the hidden dangers of playing immersive games in
If you're gonna play VR, just be a little bit aware of what you're doing.
Safe
Come on, bro.
The World of Warcraft incident.
World of
On
Warcraft? I
February
never
1st,
played this.
2007, a 26-year-old man walked into an internet cafe in Guangzhou, China.
Bro, a cafe in China. I guarantee you the cafe's gonna explode. That is the worst. Cafe already is stupid. And then China is.
Sat down, opened World of Warcraft, and
And he played for 2 weeks straight without eating.
play. Witnesses later said he barely spoke, only pausing for instant noodles or brief toilet breaks.
Of course he's eating noodles.
Day 1 passed, then day 2. He remained in the same seat.
Okay, what I'm not understanding here is, are these cafes open at all times? How are these people able to play games nonstop? Are these cafes in China like 24 hours? They just let people stay there?
fixed on the screen.
I mean, I'm never going to figure out because I'm never going to China, by the way. I'd never want to go there ever.
Steady on the
Let's
mouse.
see.
By the third day, his movement slowed. At 10 a.m., he suddenly slumped forward onto the desk. Other customers thought he had fallen asleep. After several minutes without motion, staff went to check. They shook his shoulder, but he was limp. An ambulance was called. When paramedics arrived, he showed no pulse. Doctors at the nearest hospital declared him dead, citing cardiac arrest linked to extreme exhaustion and dehydration after 3 days of continuous gaming.
Bro.
The Halo incident. On October 20th, 2007, in Wellington, Ohio, 16-year-old Daniel Petrick argued with his parents after they confiscated his copy of Halo 3. They had locked the game in a safe, believing he had become dangerously addicted. While they were out, Daniel discovered where the key was hidden and retrieved both the game and his father's pistol. When his parents returned, he confronted them in the living room. He asked them to close their eyes, saying he had a surprise. Instead, he raised the pistol and fired. His mother, Susan, was killed instantly. His father, Mark, was shot in the head, but survived. Daniel attempted to frame his father by placing the gun in his hand. Paramedics arrived quickly and saved him. Daniel was arrested and later sentenced to 23 years to life in prison. The case shocked the United States, raising questions about violent video games and teenage obsession.
Bro, see, this kid, look, the video game wasn't the problem, right? It was this kid and how he was raised. If he never played this video game, it's not like he would have just never killed his parents. He had something wrong with him deep down anyway. Something else would have made him snap. Also, is this a painting of a tree? That is so stupid. It looks like a window and a painting, bruh.
Pokemon Cliff.
Pokemon Cliff? Oh my God, I have a feeling somebody was playing Pokemon Go. Oh, I'm gonna catch this, falls off a cliff. That would be crazy.
In Tokushima Prefecture, Japan, we're playing Pokemon Go along a coastal path. The mobile game, which used GPS and augmented reality, had become a global sensation only weeks earlier. Players often followed the app into unfamiliar areas while chasing virtual creatures. That afternoon, the men, aged 21 and 22, walked together while staring at their phones. The trail narrowed near a steep drop overlooking the sea. Focused on the screen, they failed to notice the edge. Both fell from a height of more than 65 feet. Emergency responders were called immediately by nearby witnesses.
They're cooked.
One of the men was found alive but badly injured. The other was discovered at the base of the cliff, unresponsive. He was declared dead at the hospital a short time later. Japanese authorities urged players to pay more attention to their surroundings.
See, that's what you get when you live in a world where you're just like, oh, yeah. Like, people are always constantly checking their phones, checking their everything, bro. If you got off of social media, like, the only social media I use is YouTube. People always ask me, why don't you post on Instagram? Why don't you post on Twitter? I don't like that stuff, bro. It's stupid. If you just use YouTube and you just watch videos to learn, bro, life gets so much better. Trust me.
The case received wide coverage in national and international media. The League of Legends incident. On November 14th, 2012, a 23-year-old man entered an internet cafe in Wuhan, China.
Bro, what the hell?
He sat at a terminal, logged into League of Legends, and began to play. Staff said he had been a regular customer, sometimes staying for long sessions, but this time he remained in his seat for nearly 23 hours without pause. Other patrons noticed him shifting uncomfortably, rubbing his chest, but he kept on playing. As the morning turned into afternoon, his body weakened. At 3 p.m., he suddenly slumped back in his chair. His arms fell to his side, the mouse slipped from his hand. The attendant rushed over, calling his name, but he was unresponsive. Paramedics were summoned immediately. By the time they arrived, his pulse was faint and irregular. He was transported to a nearby hospital, where doctors attempted to resuscitate him. He was declared dead shortly afterward. Medical staff attributed the death to cardiac arrest.
Okay, I'm skipping this. That's stupid, bro.
The Lineage 2 incident.
Lineage 2?
On March 29th, 2005, in Shanghai, two friends, Qiu Chengwei and Zhu Kaoyuan, played the online game Lineage 2. Zhu loaned Zhu a powerful virtual sword, the Dragon Saber. Weeks later, Zhu sold it for 7,200 yuan without permission. Furious, Qiu demanded its return. When Zhu refused, Qiu reported the theft to police. At the time, Chinese law did not recognize virtual property as real, and no charges were filed. On the evening of March 29th, Qiu confronted Zhu in person. The argument escalated into violence. Qiu drew a knife and stabbed Zhu repeatedly. Zhu died from his wounds. Qiu was arrested at the scene. In June 2005, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. The killing became one of the first high-profile cases linking disputes over virtual items.
This is why I'm not going to China. They be killing people over Fortnite accounts.
On August 23rd, 2016,
We got another Pokemon
in Tokushima Prefecture, Japan, a 39-year-old truck driver was driving on a rural road while playing Pokemon Go. Distracted by the game, he failed to see two women crossing at a rate.
Bro, this guy was driving his car playing Pokemon Go, bro. He thought he was speed running the game. He thought, oh, everybody else is walking trying to find these Pokemon. I'm about to start driving and catch these Pokemon.
Intersection. The truck struck both pedestrians. One woman, aged 72,
yeah, she's
died
done
instantly. The second, aged 60,
she's
was
done.
rushed to hospital with critical injuries and died shortly afterward.
Oh
Witnesses said the driver never braked before impact. Police arrested the man at the scene. He admitted he had been playing Pokemon Go behind the wheel. Prosecutors charged him with dangerous driving resulting in death. The case made national headlines in Japan, where the government had already issued public safety warnings about the game. Following the tragedy, Niantic, the game's developer, added new warnings for players not to use the app while operating vehicles.
I mean, obviously,
Despite
that's pretty.
Changes, the Tokushima crash remains one of the deadliest incidents linked to mobile gaming distraction.
That's like pretty obvious, bro. If you're playing a mobile game while driving, you're gonna hit something, bro. Like, people text while driving and that's bad. But imagine playing a game while driving. Like you're definitely gonna crash. This is insane, bro. Stay off the game, bro. What's up, dummies? So a couple of months ago, I made a ton of videos reacting to the craziest theme park, water park, roller coaster accidents ever, but I haven't done it in a couple months. But this dude just uploaded a new video titled "The Worst Theme Park Deaths Ever." Look at this. Somebody apparently got sucked into like a tube at like a water park and died. This is gonna be the craziest deaths that have ever happened at theme parks. I'm so happy to be reacting to another one of these. These are always crazy. Let's see.
On March 24th, 2022, 14-year-old Tyre Sampson visited Icon Park in Orlando as part of a spring break trip with his football team from Missouri. It was supposed to be a day of excitement and freedom, filled with rides, lights, and the kind of fun teenagers look forward to all year. That evening, the group approached the Orlando Freefall.
See, that's the thing about these type of rides. These are fun, like super fun. It takes you all the way up. If you've never been on it, you just go all the way up slowly, right? And then you get to the top, and then you just boom, you drop all the way to the top, and then as you're going down, you're like, oh, and you feel like you're about to slam into the ground, but then it stops perfectly. So I wonder what happened to this guy. Did he fall off from the top? Did he? I don't know.
A 430-foot drop tower and one of the tallest freestanding attractions of its kind in the world.
Damn!
The ride slowly lifted passengers hundreds of feet into the air before releasing them into a near vertical free fall, reaching speeds of more than 75 miles per hour before breaking near the ground. Tyre Sampson was physically larger than most riders. He stood over 6 feet.
That's a nice way to say somebody was fat.
Tall and weighed more than 340 pounds.
Hey, he said he was a football player. Football players need to be, you know, very heavy, so I'll give him that.
Weight limit was 287 pounds.
Oh,
but
what?
no one weighed him or stopped him from boarding.
What? If the weight limit is 280 and this kid was like 400 pounds, bro, why are you?
When Tyre was seated, the shoulder harness was not properly secured against his body.
See, this is the water park's fault, bro. They need to actually enforce it, bro.
Instead of removing him from the ride, the operator manually adjusted the seat, increasing the gap between the harness and the safety sensor. Despite the improper adjustment, the system displayed a green light, signaling that the restraint was secure. The ride was allowed to proceed. Tyre was lifted more than 40 stories into the night sky. Below him, the lights of Icon Park stretched out in every direction.
Dude, that is actually dope, because I've been on one of these rides, and when you're up there, it's like, oh my gosh, you can see the whole world from there. And it's honestly pretty creepy, because you're like, dude, what if I fall? Like, everyone thinks that when they're on the rides. They're like, what if the ride breaks? What if the roller coaster goes off the tracks? Like, what happened? You know, what if? Everyone always thinks that, but this actually happened.
Moments later, the drop sequence began. As the ride decelerated near the bottom, the sudden force caused Tyre to slip through the unusually large gap created by the adjusted restraint. Witnesses reported seeing him fall approximately 70 feet while the ride was still braking. He struck the pavement beneath the attraction.
Roller coasters.
Ohio Oktoberfest.
Ohio October. Okay, of course. This is in Ohio.
On June 9th, 1991, thousands of visitors filled Kings Island Amusement Park in Mason, Ohio.
Bro, there's a place called Mason, Ohio. Who the hell thought of that name? Like, I bet there was somebody named Mason that was just like, oh, this is my town. That's so stupid.
It was a warm Sunday evening in the Oktoberfest section of the park. Near the German beer garden, a decorative pond sat surrounded by rope barriers. The pond contained a submerged aerator pump that kept the water moving. Around 9 p.m., 22-year-old Timothy Binning
Bro, he looks just like me. What the hell?
approached the pond. For reasons never fully explained, he touched the water. An electrical current shot through his body.
Whoa.
The pump's wiring had failed, and there was no ground fault circuit breaker to prevent electrocution. The jolt knocked Binning unconscious, and he tumbled over the railing into the electrified water. His friend, 20-year-old William Haithcote...
Don't touch him! Don't... What the hell was his name?
His friend, 20-year-old William Haithcote...
Oh, I thought it said Haithcock. I was about to say... Haithcote is still with... Don't touch him, though!
Immediately jumped in to save him.
No!
The moment Haithcote entered the water, he was electrocuted. 20-year-old park security guard Daryl Robertson saw what was happening and rushed to help. He dove into the pond and was killed instantly.
Bro, oh my God. See, that's the thing, bro. If you see someone floating in water, you're like, oh snap, they're drowning. So you're gonna run in and dive in after them. But this is actually so tragic, bro. Because it's a small pond. Like, just,
Binning survived with burns on his arm and neck.
Huh?
Haithcote and Robertson did not.
Wow. The people who tried to save the guy ended up dying, but the guy they were trying to save ended up surviving. That's so
An hour later, another tragedy struck the park. 32-year-old...
An hour later, another tragedy happened at this park? We gotta shut this place down. If you ever go to Mason, Ohio, we need to revoke that place, bro. I'm gonna do some research after this. What the hell happened? Let's figure out what else happened. Did somebody else jump in this damn electrocution water? They think it's a ride. Are y'all that thirsty? You've been standing in line for 2 hours. You get out and you're like, oh, water. You go drink it.
The park. 32-year-old Candy Taylor from Toledo was riding the Flight Commander, a spinning aerial ride where passengers could control their own capsule. Her blood alcohol level was 0.30%. As the ride spun, she passed out while her capsule was upside down. State investigators later discovered a design flaw in the restraints that allowed limp patrons to slip through the harness. Taylor fell 60 feet to her death. Kings Island fined $23,500 for the electrocutions. The day became known as Black Sunday.
Bro, what? So you're telling me these guys jumped into this electrocuted water and then they ended up dying or whatever, and then an hour later, somebody fell off of this ride? You gotta shut the whole park down, bro. And it said they were only fined $23,000. Huh? I don't know why anybody would show up to that damn park.
August 31st,
after they
2005, 45-year-old Barbara Brady...
Bro, that looks like my mom, bro. That's what my mom looks like.
...arrived at Adventureland Amusement Park in East Farmingdale, New York. She was a resident of Central Manor Home for Adults and had come to the park with 24 other residents and 5...
They have a home for adults? What the hell is that? Isn't that just a normal home?
...chaperones for a day of fun.
Around
12:40 p.m., Brady boarded the Top Scan ride with one of her chaperones. The Top Scan featured 6 free rotating gondolas that spun riders in multiple directions, including upside down. A horseshoe-shaped harness was lowered over her shoulders and around her chest. A park employee checked the control panel. A green light indicated all restraints were secure. The operator started the ride. As the gondolas began spinning violently in all directions, something went wrong. Brady's harness failed. She was flung from her seat at high speed, her body sailing over a 20-foot wall on the northern edge of the park. She crashed through the windshield of a car in the adjacent parking lot. Brady was pronounced dead at Middle Island Hospital Medical Center.
She got flung from a freaking roller coaster into someone's car. Oh my God. Imagine you're going to this Adventureland, you're partying, you're having fun with your family, y'all. Oh yeah, and the day's over and you go back to your car and there's a dead person in your car.
Accident came just 2 days after a park employee had been killed by a roller coaster at the same park. It was the second fatality at Adventureland in 3 days after 43 years of fatality-free operation. The Top Scan lacked seatbelts that other versions of the ride had installed. The Dreamworld tragedy. On October 25th, 2016, 4 adults and 2 children climbed into a circular raft at Dreamworld theme park on Australia's Gold Coast.
That looks fun.
They were about to ride Thunder River Rapids, a water ride that had operated safely for 30 years.
I went here, actually.
The ride simulated whitewater rafting, with rafts floating along a channel propelled by 2 large water pumps.
Y'all probably think I'm lying. I'm not lying. I actually was in Gold Coast, Australia last year, and I went to this dream world.
A conveyor belt lifted rafts back up to the unloading platform. Earlier that day, the ride had broken down twice. At 2:04 p.m., one of the pumps failed again, causing the water level to drop rapidly.
Oh, I think I heard about this. I think I might have heard about this. Maybe it's a different incident. Hopefully not, but let's see.
The raft became stranded on the conveyor belt, where the water was too shallow for it to float free. Operators failed to shut down the conveyor. The raft carrying the 6 passengers collided with the stranded raft at the base of the conveyor. The conveyor kept moving. The occupied raft was pushed upward, then flipped vertically. The 2 children, ages 10 and 13, managed to climb free. Kate Goodchild, her brother Luke Dorset, his partner Rusby Arragee, and New Zealand tourist Cindy Lowe were either trapped in the raft or ejected into the machinery beneath. All four died from crush and compression injuries. First responders described the scene as one of the most horrific they had ever witnessed. Dreamworld was fined 3.6 million Australian dollars. The ride was demolished the following year. The Haunted Castle incident.
It was demolished, but they rebuilt it because I literally rode on it last year.
On May 11th, 1984, a group of teenagers from New York City arrived at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. Among them were 5 seniors from Franklin K. Lane High School. They entered the Haunted Castle, a walk-through horror attraction built from connected aluminum trailers.
Oh, I've been in one of these. It's like a scary castle, and you walk through, and there's people around every corner saying, "Ah!" with like fake chainsaws and stuff. Yeah, I've been through this. They try to scare you, but you got to act tough, especially when you're with the girls.
With walls lined in flammable foam padding. At 6:35 p.m.
I heard about this one too. Oh my gosh, this is actually tragic, bro. I got to hear about this again because I forgot a lot about it. A 14-year-old
boy used a cigarette lighter to illuminate a dark corridor where a strobe light had malfunctioned.
Bad
the flame
idea.
touched a foam rubber wall pad. The fire spread instantly through the black painted timber
Bad
structure.
Idea,
29 people were inside. The attraction had no sprinklers, no smoke alarms, no emergency lighting, and no...
This dude was so scared that he lit a little candle or whatever, and then it got on fire. See, fire is nothing to be messed with, especially if you're near a bunch of flammable stuff. They always tell you that in school. They're like, oh, don't light fires near flammable stuff. You know, and you always hear flammable, flammable, flammable. But dude, it's serious because fire just spreads like that.
Marked exits. Most visitors saw the smoke and ran toward the entrance. 9 teenagers ran deeper into the maze, believing the smoke was part of the show.
Oh my God, bro. The whole thing was burning and they were like, oh, dude, this is cool. Look at the fire over there, bro. That's scary. And they're just walking towards it and it's smoking and they're like, oh, this is the scariest. Come on,
They realized
dude.
their mistake. They tried to find their way out in pitch darkness. They became trapped at the end of a corridor, pressing their faces against an air conditioning vent, trying to breathe. 7 of them were found huddled together in front of a chain door they thought was an exit. It was actually a closet. 8 teenagers died of carbon monoxide poisoning and smoke inhalation. Their bodies were so badly burned that firefighters initially mistook them for mannequins.
Oh, man, they thought it was a mannequin, a scary fake mannequin.
The park remained open that evening, and a scheduled concert went ahead.
They still did a concert.
Six Flags was acquitted of manslaughter charges. The families settled for $2.5 million each.
Well, at least now you can go buy a new car or something. Have fun with the money.
Splash Canyon incident. On May 9th, 2017, 11-year-old Eva Janeth was on a school trip from Jamia Girls Academy in
Wait, hold on.
$1 million.
He showed, hold on.
The Splash Canyon.
The Splash Canyon incident. This shows one of those like easy rides. Like whenever you get on one of these rides, you don't think like, oh, I hope I don't fall off or hope I don't die. You know, you don't get scared of these rides. Don't tell me somebody died on an easy kid ride. How is that possible?
Incident. On May 9th, 2017,
how is that possible?
11-year-old Eva Janeth was on a school trip from Jamia Girls Academy in Leicester to Drayton Manor Theme Park in Staffordshire, England. She could not swim. Around 2 p.m., she boarded the Splash Canyon River Rapids ride with 4 friends. No teacher accompanied them. The boat was a circular vessel carrying 6 passengers through fast-flowing water.
You're not supposed to fall out of that ride, though.
During the ride, Eva and her friends repeatedly stood up and reached into the water despite warning signs.
All right.
When the boat struck a barrier, Eva was standing. The impact propelled her out of the vessel. She fell headfirst into water that was up to her thighs.
Down.
She appeared uninjured and began wading toward the exit platform, trying to get back to her friends. A bystander shouted for her to stop. Eva kept walking. She tried to climb the ride's wooden travelator, but it was covered in algae and slippery.
What is she doing?
She fell off the side into much deeper water. Ride operators were not watching. The CCTV system only covered half the course. 11 minutes passed before staff were alerted. By the time they found her face down in the water, 6 more minutes had passed. She drowned. Drayton Manor was fined £1 million for safety failings. The fine was never paid because the company had entered administration. The ghost train incident. On June 9th, 1979,
holy cow, look at that picture.
Administration.
Hold on.
The ghost train incident.
What? The ghost train incident? What the hell is that? This is going to be
On June 9th, 1979, John Godson brought his 2 sons, Damien 6 and Craig 4.
Who names a kid Craig? A little kid named Craig? That just doesn't make sense.
To Luna Park.
That's like naming a little kid Mark. Like, no, Mark is an old name. Naming a little kid Bob. Come on.
Sydney, Australia. His wife Jennifer left the line to buy ice cream while John took the boys onto the ghost train ride. The attraction had been operating since the park opened in 1935.
Oh,
Cars
that's
traveled along a
old,
590-foot electric track
old
through a
ride.
pitch-black tunnel filled with skeletons, monsters, and special effects. At 10:15 p.m.
Wait, they're on like a baby ride. Like I've been on one of these where you go through and there's like scary little monsters and you look. It's for little kids. Don't tell me they died on a kid
a
ride.
fire broke out somewhere inside the ride. The exact cause was never determined. The structure was built entirely of black-painted timber with no sprinkler system. A design consultant had recommended installing sprinklers 18 months earlier. The recommendation was ignored. Some passengers smelled smoke but assumed it was part of the experience.
See,
By
that
the time flames
sucks.
became visible, escape was nearly impossible. The tunnel was a maze designed to disorient riders. There was no emergency lighting.
This is like a maze ride, so you don't even know where to go.
It took firefighters more than 6 hours to recover 7 bodies from the debris. John
6
Godson
hours?
was found with his
6 hours to get 7 bodies.
arms wrapped around his 2 sons. 4 students from Waverly College, all between 12 and 13 years old, also perished.
Wait, how are they in college if they're 13 years old?
Jennifer Godson lost her husband and both children while waiting with melting ice cream cones. A coroner ruled the deaths accidental, but found Luna Park had failed in its duty of care.
Bro, this lady went to go get ice cream while her 2 sons and her husband were going to go on this little ride for 2 minutes. She's waiting with the ice cream, ready to give them the ice cream because she spent $20 on the ice cream because it's overpriced at the damn amusement park. And they never came out.
No criminal charges were filed.
I wonder
Missing
if she
Bolts
ate the
tragedy.
ice cream.
On
She ate
September
their ice
5th,
cream.
2003, 22-year-old Marcelo Torres
What is that haircut, bro? I know I got some long, busted hair right now, dude. Should I get a haircut? Let me know. If I should get a haircut or if I should just leave it long. I think I'm just going to leave it long. I'm just going to let it flow.
visited Disneyland in Anaheim, California with his best friend. They boarded Big Thunder
Whoa,
Mountain
his
Railroad
best friend got the worst. I thought I was making. I thought this guy had the worst hair, but golly, look at his. Damn, what is that? Looks like the dude from Lanky Box. He's got some cool hair, though. It's pretty
They
cool.
boarded Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, a mine train roller coaster that had operated safely since 1979. The ride
Damn.
featured trains that looked like old locomotives racing through fake rock formations themed after the American Southwest. Around 11 a.m., their train entered a tunnel on an uphill grade. Unknown to anyone, fasteners on the locomotive's left guide wheel assembly had not been properly tightened.
This dude said, what? Fasteners on the locomotive's left wheel assembly? That's too many big words, bro. You got to know that I'm not that smart.
During recent maintenance.
Whatever
The
that
loose
means. let me
axle
know.
dropped and jammed against a brake section inside the tunnel. The rear of the locomotive shot upward, hitting the tunnel ceiling. The tow bar connecting the locomotive to the first passenger car snapped. Torres was sitting in the first passenger car. It slammed into the underside of the airborne locomotive. He suffered severe blunt force trauma to his chest, fracturing his ribs and lacerating his lungs. 10 other passengers were injured. First responders took an hour to remove everyone from the tunnel. Torres died of blood loss. Disney admitted the accident was caused by maintenance workers who failed to properly secure the wheel assembly. The company settled with Torres' family for an undisclosed amount. Part of the settlement established a memorial scholarship in his name.
Wow.
Falling from space.
Nice.
On
Huh?
June 29th, 2010, visitors at Overseas Chinese Town East Theme Park in Shenzhen, China,
Chinese?
lined up for space.
China has freaking theme parks, bro? What? I did not know they
a
had
ride
theme
that
parks.
simulated the experience of a rocket launch.
See, yeah, these people in China, they just like their extreme stuff. A ride that mimics a space launch.
12 four-person cabins were attached to a central tower. During operation, the cabins would rise 50 feet while spinning at high speed, giving passengers the sensation of doubled gravity. At 4:45 p.m., approximately 40 people were strapped into the ride. The cabins began to
buddy.
rise and spin. Witnesses waiting in line reported smelling burning electronics. Then the power cut out. An explosion followed. Cabin number 5 had lost a bolt. The cabin broke free from the spinning mechanism and slammed into other cabins. Several cabins crashed 50 feet down onto a platform
Multiple
below.
cabins
Passengers
fell?
were thrown from their seats. 6 people were killed. 10 others were injured, including several with fractured bones and amputated fingers. It was
Oh
one of
my
the deadliest
God,
theme
bro.
park accidents in Chinese
you believe
history.
that, bro?
Investigators determined a mechanical problem caused the cabin to dislodge, though the exact cause was never publicly disclosed. 11 people, including operators, maintenance workers, and managers, were detained for questioning. The park had passed a government safety inspection 3 months earlier, the Action River incident.
All right, the
On
action. Wait.
It's a government safety
Don't
inspection
tell me
3
somebody
months
died in a
earlier.
lazy river.
The Action
Y'all know what this is? This is a lazy river, right? Like one of those like things at the amusement park where it just flows slowly and you just chill. How the hell do you die in there? I've seen people who have been sleeping in lazy rivers, but maybe. Oh, I never seen someone who was dead in a lazy river, but maybe the people who I saw that were sleeping on their raft, like, maybe they were dead.
River incident. On July 16th, 2017, 58-year-old Michael Stone arrived at Aquatica Water Park in Orlando, Florida. He was a resident of Jadade Personal Care Home in Savannah, Georgia, a facility that provided nursing care. Stone had a history of high blood pressure, strokes, and seizures. He was on vacation with 13 fellow residents and a certified nursing assistant. Around 2:50 p.m., Stone entered Roas Rapids, an action river ride with fast-flowing water, swirling currents, and gushing geysers.
So he got into a lazy river, which is one of the most, like, not scary and not dangerous things ever. Tell me how he died.
He wore a life vest, as
he had a life jacket on, too. I was wondering, okay, maybe he drowned. He got a damn life jacket on. What could have happened to this old man?
For shorter guests. The nursing assistant said he seemed alert and healthy. The group completed one lap together. On the second lap, the assistant looked back and realized Stone was no longer behind her. She climbed out of the water and heard a commotion. Lifeguards were clearing an area. Stone had been found face down in water just 3 feet deep, unconscious. Despite wearing a life vest, he had drowned. The medical examiner determined he had passed out, likely from a medical episode, and the vest could not keep his face above water. It was the second death in Roas Rapids. A 68-year-old British
Somebody else died in that freaking lazy river? They need to rename it to Death River.
Tourist had died the same way in 2010. The routine inspection. On September 14th, 2020.
2020, bro? People are still dying in theme parks, bro? I thought all these theme park deaths would have been like 1990, maybe 2000s. 2020 was just like yesterday.
21-year-old Jacob Kaminsky reported to work at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida.
This is the same park as the first one with the guy who fell off, the 400-pound guy?
The maintenance employee for the Starflyer, a 450-foot tall swing ride that spun 24 passengers at speeds of 45 miles per hour. Kaminsky had grown up obsessed with roller coasters, building toy versions in his basement as a child. He had worked construction on the Iron Gwazi roller coaster at Busch Gardens before landing his dream job inspecting rides. Around 7:40 a.m., before the park opened, Kaminsky climbed the Starflyer Tower to conduct a routine daily safety inspection. A coworker was climbing with him. Somewhere on the tower's interior, Kaminsky lost his grip. He fell backward approximately 40 to 60 feet, landing on an elevated platform below. Emergency responders found him lifeless. He was pronounced dead at Orlando Regional Medical Center. OSHA and the Orange County Sheriff's Office launched investigations. The Starflyer had no history of violations. Friends said Kaminsky had spent years trying to land a job in the amusement industry. A GoFundMe page raised money for his funeral expenses. Sucked into the pipe. On August 16th, 1985.
This is what we saw in the thumbnail. Somebody getting sucked into a pipe. Oh, I didn't think it was real. I thought I got clickbaited.
A 14-year-old boy visited a large waterslide amusement park near Ogden, Utah, with his younger brother and 2 friends. The park had opened the previous year, featuring 6 water slides that all drained into a single splash pool.
Cool.
The pool was 4 feet deep. Beneath the surface, 3 12-inch diameter pipes carried water to a pump house.
Dude, these pipes are 12 inches in diameter. So like 12 inches is like this big, right? What? No way somebody got sucked into it. Maybe the little kid.
Circulated to the top of the slides. The boy was hanging onto the pool edge, dangling his feet over the submerged opening of one of the drain pipes. Cast iron grates had originally covered the pipe inlets, but they kept falling off because the cement anchoring them had eroded. Park employees had simply removed the grates entirely. There were no backup safety features to prevent someone from entering the pipes. The boy let go of the edge and disappeared. The suction from the pump pulled him horizontally through 93 feet of pipe until his body lodged in a 90-degree vertical bend inside the pump house. Lifeguards were on duty but powerless to help. It took 15 minutes to locate him. Resuscitation attempts failed. The cause of death
93 feet. He got sucked in this pipe and he's like, "Ooh, is this a part of the ride?" And he just 93 feet. You would have drowned by the time you got to the...
Investigators found the park performed no routine safety checks. It was one of the first waterslide fatalities reported to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The accident led to new health department regulations requiring protective grading on all drainage pipes larger than 6 inches.
I mean, yeah, you gotta put a gate over a pipe. Come on, dude, this is insane. I'm not going to water park. What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to the worst school field trip deaths ever. Look at this kid, bro. He got like a stop sign lodged into his face. Dude, these are gonna be crazy field trip deaths. If you've ever been on a field trip, this is gonna be a crazy video. Let's try not to get scared.
On April 16th, 2014, students from Danwon High School in South Korea boarded the Sewol ferry for a class trip to Jeju Island.
That's dope. Wait, what? When I was a kid, I would go on school field trips to like the amusement park or something. Like they're going to an island on a boat? What the hell type of school were you
There were
at?
476 people on board. Most were
Hell no.
teenagers. They wore
Wow.
their school uniforms and carried back.
This dude's hair looks like a damn lettuce. Oh my god, I need to stop making fun of them. I forgot this was deaths. Sorry, you still do look like lettuce, and that looks like ground beef, and that looks like a paper bag. Okay, I need to chill, bro. What am I?
Others had snacks for the journey. They were excited. It was supposed to be a fun field trip. The
Okay.
ferry was 475 feet long. It had been modified to carry more passengers and cargo. The modifications made it less stable. But nobody told the students this. Around 8:48 a.m., the ferry was sailing through the Yellow Sea. The water was calm. Students were in the common areas. Some were eating breakfast. Others were taking selfies and posting on social media. A few were still sleeping in their cabins below deck. At 8:49 a.m., the ferry made a sharp turn, too sharp that it caused the ship to tilt to one side.
No
Students
way.
stumbled and trays slid across the floor. Everyone was in panic. Then, the intercom crackled. A voice told everyone to stay where they were. The students obediently listened. They trusted the crew, but the ship never stopped tilting further. On the other end, the captain and crew members began evacuating. They left first, leaving the passengers aboard. At
No way.
9:30 a.m.,
No way. The captain and the crew members got off, but they left all the kids in their rooms and stuff. They just said, don't leave your room. Wow.
the ship was already listing at 50 degrees. Students in lower cabins were faced with rising water. The corridors had become steep slopes. Some tried climbing out. Others stayed in their rooms like they'd been told. They were scared, confused.
Bro, what do you mean should I go out? Break the damn window. I don't care, bro. If like I'm stuck on, like I go on cruise ships all the time. So if something like this were to happen and I was stuck in a room, I'm breaking the damn window, bro.
Yet, the water kept rising.
Wow.
Students who tried escaping faced flooded stairwells. The water was dark and cold. Some made it to windows but couldn't break through. Others got stuck in narrow passages as the ship turned on its side. At 10:31 a.m., the Sewol capsized completely. Divers arrived but couldn't get inside immediately. The currents were too strong. When they finally entered, they found students still in their cabins, still wearing their uniforms. Some were holding hands. Others had their life jackets on, but had never left their rooms.
They were holding hands. Oh my god.
304 people had died,
Wow.
most of whom were students from Danwon High School. Only 172 survived. Shoes and backpacks later washed up on shore.
Oh my
The
gosh.
captain was later arrested and sentenced to life in prison.
Wow, he got sentenced to life in prison because he freaking left while all the kids were still on board. Yeah, bro, that's messed up. You gotta make sure you get the people up. Wow, so they were planning on going to an island for their freaking school field trip. I mean, at least they didn't have to do homework that day, right?
Mount Hood Incident. On May 12, 1986, 19 students and staff from Oregon Episcopal School gathered at Timberline Lodge on Mount Hood.
That looks dope. Wow, that looks awesome. I want to go there so bad. I love like a ski resort, like snowy vibe. That is awesome.
Were there for base camp, a required outdoor education program. The students were excited. Most had never climbed a mountain before. The group included experienced climbers.
Wait, this school did a field trip climbing a mountain? What the hell was wrong with my school, dude? We would go to like Chuck E. Cheese.
And teachers. The weather forecast looked good. They planned to climb to the summit and back in one day. The morning was clear and cold. Students wore field jackets and carried backpacks. Some joked and laughed as they hiked. Others were quiet, focusing on the climb ahead. By afternoon, they'd reached higher elevations. The weather was still clear. Everything felt perfect. Then suddenly the conditions changed. Clouds rolled in fast. Wind speeds increased. Visibility dropped. What had been a clear mountain became a white wall of blowing snow. The group tried to descend, but the whiteout made navigation nearly impossible. They couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. The wind was so loud they had to shout to hear each other. The temperature was dropping. Students huddled together trying to stay warm. Some were already showing signs of hypothermia, shivering, confused, moving slowly. The leaders tried to radio for help, but the storm interfered with transmission. Their calls didn't get through. Night fell. The temperature dropped to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind speeds hit 100 miles per hour.
Oh my
Students
god.
dug into the snow trying to create shelter. The storm lasted through the night. Students in light jackets faced brutal cold. Frostbite set in. Hypothermia took hold. Rescuers tried reaching them, but the storm was too severe. Helicopters couldn't fly. Ground teams couldn't move in the whiteout. By morning, the storm had passed. Rescue teams found the survivors first. Then they found the others. Bodies curled near rocks. Clothing became stiff with
Wow.
ice. Some students had been only yards from safety, but couldn't see through the storm. Nine.
Oh, that's crazy, bro. So some of them were right next to the house and right next to the lodge, but because it was so windy and snowy, they couldn't even see that they were so close. Oh my
People
gosh.
died. 7 students and
9
2 adults.
deaths. Oh
They
my
froze to death
gosh.
on a school trip that was supposed to teach them outdoor skills.
Wow.
Nyanga bus tragedy. On
Huh?
August 3rd, 1991, students from St. Kilian's Mission School piled onto buses for a sports day trip at Regina Coeli School in Zimbabwe. It was a
What the
beautiful
hell?
morning. The kids were loud and excited. They'd spent the day competing in games, running races, playing football, and laughing with friends. Around 82 school children were on the buses heading home. They were
Wow.
tired but happy. Some had won medals. Others compared bruises from the day's activities. The
Awesome.
bus was full of chatter and singing. The route moved through the mountains near Nyanga,
Wow.
180 miles southeast of Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. Beautiful scenery, sharp curves, steep drops. The bus was moving fast, too
Ooh.
fast for the winding roads. Some
Uh-oh.
students noticed. A few felt nervous as the bus swayed around corners. Teachers told the driver to slow down. He didn't listen. The bus approached another
Really?
curve. At that moment, the driver hit the brakes, but it was too late. The bus rolled off the road down the hillside.
Oh my
Students
God.
screamed. Bodies tumbled inside. Windows shattered. When it finally stopped, the wreckage was catastrophic. The bus had been torn apart. Bodies were scattered across the slope. Sports equipment lay everywhere. Survivors crawled out. Some were in shock. Others screamed for help. The smell of petrol filled the air. A few students tried helping their friends but couldn't move them. Too much blood. Too many injuries. Rescue took
Oh,
hours. The
wow.
crash site was a remote rural valley. There were limited emergency services. The
Wow.
accident claimed the lives of 89 people.
Oh.
82 were school children. Kids who'd been celebrating just
Oh.
hours earlier are now gone because a driver wouldn't slow down.
Wow.
Alton bus incident. On September
Stupid.
21st, 1989, students in Alton, Texas boarded their school bus in the morning. It was a regular day, junior and senior high school students heading to class. 81 students were on board. The bus traveled along Highway 336. The driver was familiar with the route. A few moments later, something tragic happened. At an intersection, a Dr. Pepper delivery truck approached from another
What the
direction.
hell?
The truck driver was supposed to stop, but he didn't stop. Suddenly,
Oh.
the truck slammed into the side of the bus at full speed.
Oh my
The impact was
gosh.
massive. Metal crunched. Glass exploded. Students were thrown from their seats. The bus veered off the road. It plunged into a water-filled caliche pit and began sinking immediately. Students were disoriented from the crash. They tried finding exits, but they couldn't find any because bodies were pressed together, blocking the exits. Within minutes, the water was already over their heads. The students held their breath. They tried swimming
Hell
toward the
no.
windows, but many couldn't break through. Others got trapped by seat frames and metal debris. Some students near the exits made it out. They surfaced gasping and watched in horror as the bus sank deeper. Rescuers arrived and dove into the murky water. They pulled students out one by one.
Oh my
Some were
gosh.
conscious. Most weren't. 21 students were recorded dead from the
Oh my
incident.
God.
Dead Sea tragedy. On October
Wow.
25th, 2018, school children from Jordan arrived at Zarqa Mayan near the Dead
Jordan?
Sea for
Like
an
Michael
educational
Jordan?
trip. It was a popular spot.
Hell.
Hot springs, beautiful gorges, and rocky passages perfect for photos.
That's
The
nice.
morning was sunny and warm. Students explored the area. They took pictures and walked through narrow wadis.
That looks
These
like
were
me.
dry riverbeds carved through rock. But the students didn't know that wadis can become death traps in minutes. Around midday, students were posing for group photos in a narrow gorge. Teachers supervised. Everyone was relaxed, happy. Then someone heard a noise,
What's
a
gonna
sound
happen?
like distant thunder. Within minutes, it grew louder. Then a wall of brown water came roaring through the gorge. It was a flash flood moving at incredible speed. It was 6 feet high, carrying
Wow.
debris, rocks, branches, everything in its path. Students screamed and tried running, but there was nowhere to go.
Oh my
The gorge
gosh.
walls were too steep. The water was too fast. It hit them like a truck. They were swept off their feet. Teachers grabbed at children, but the current was too strong. Bodies tumbled in the churning water.
Oh
Some clung to
no.
rocks. Others were carried downstream. The water kept coming, wave after wave, brown and violent. Students who'd grabbed onto something watched their friends disappear in the current. Some students managed to climb higher on the rocks. Others weren't fast enough. The flood swept them into wider channels, bashed them against boulders,
Oh my
pulled them
gosh.
under. Rescue teams arrived, but the flood was still raging. They couldn't reach everyone. They watched helplessly as students were carried away. Parents arrived at the scene. The sounds of mothers crying mixed with rushing water. When the flood finally subsided, rescuers
Ah.
found bodies scattered along the wadi. Some were miles from where they started. Others were buried in mud and debris. 21 people died. Most were school children, killed by water
21.
that came from storms they never saw. A sunny day turned into a nightmare in seconds.
Wow, nature is
Parktown Boys
crazy.
tragedy. On January
Like nature, you just never know when the weather could go bad. In that first story or the second story, they were hiking and it was supposed to be sunny out and then it just became snowy really quick. Weather can change instantly. You got to be
15th,
prepared.
2020, grade 8 students
2020.
from Parktown Boys High School in South Africa
Wow.
arrived at Nayati Bush and Riverbreak Lodge for orientation camp. It was supposed to build teamwork and help new students bond. The camp was near the Crocodile River. One of the activities required students to build rafts and cross the river. The students were
cool.
excited. It felt adventurous, like something from a movie, until it became something else. 13-year-old Enoch Mpianzi was among them. He helped build a raft with his group. They tied logs together and tested the ropes. Teachers and camp staff supervised them. The river looked calm. Brown water moved slowly. Students didn't know the current was stronger than it appeared. The groups pushed their rafts into the water. Some rafts were more stable than others. Enoch's raft looked wobbly, but they launched anyway. The raft made it a few meters from shore. Then it started tipping. Students tried balancing, but the raft flipped. At that moment, they fell into the brown water. Most of them surfaced quickly, grabbed onto logs, and started swimming. Teachers on the bank shouted instructions, but Enoch didn't surface. Students looked around for him, called his name. Nothing. The water was too dark to see below the surface. They started searching. Students on the bank watched in growing panic. Where was Enoch? Rescue efforts began, but they were slow. The camp didn't have proper emergency procedures. No lifeguards, no immediate rescue equipment. Minutes passed, then an hour. Other students were pulled from the water, but not Enoch. His classmates stood on the bank wrapped in towels, shivering, crying. They just watched their friend disappear. The next day, his body was found. Downstream, he drowned. He wasn't wearing a life jacket. Kerala bus incident. On October 5th, 2022, students from Kerala, India boarded a private tourist bus for a school outing. It was late evening. Most students were tired from the day's activities. Some slept in their seats. Others talked quietly. The bus traveled along a highway heading home. The driver was going fast, much faster than safe. He was trying to overtake another vehicle. Ahead was a state transport bus, but the driver didn't see it until it was too late. He slammed on the brakes. The bus skidded, but the speed was too high. The tourist bus crashed into the state bus at high speed. The impact was catastrophic. The front of the bus crumpled. Students were thrown forward and the bus rolled onto its side. Inside was chaos. Students who'd been sleeping woke up to pain and screaming. Others couldn't move. They were trapped by twisted metal and overturned seats. Those who could move tried helping others, but some students weren't responding. Blood covered the floor. The smell of fuel filled the air. Emergency services arrived. They cut through metal to reach trapped students, pulled bodies from the wreckage. Some students were conscious. Others weren't breathing. Parents rushed to hospitals. Corridors filled with crying families. Doctors worked on student after student. Some survived with injuries. Others didn't make it. Eventually, 9 people died, 5 of whom were students.
Gosh, bro.
Wasan Gishu incident. On October 28th, 2023,
2023?
primary school pupils from Arap Moi Primary School in Kenya arrived at a man-made dam in Uasin Gishu County for a school outing. It was supposed to be an educational trip in preparation for an examination. The children were young and excited. The dam was a popular local spot, perfect for small boat rides and nature lessons. The teachers had organized canoe trips across the water. The children gathered at the water's edge. They wore their school uniforms. Some carried lunches their parents had packed. They talked excitedly about getting in the boats. Most had never been in a canoe before. The boats were small and made with simple wooden craft and rafts. They climbed in groups, too many in each boat. The teachers tried organizing them, but the children were eager. They pushed off from shore. The boats sat low in the water, overloaded, but they didn't notice. They were laughing, splashing water at each other. As they moved slowly across the dam, one of the boats started tipping. The children shifted their weight trying to balance, but there were too many bodies on one side. The boat tilted further, and water started pouring over the edge. The children screamed. Some tried jumping to the other side, but that made it worse. At 5 p.m., the boat flipped completely. They all fell into the water. Most couldn't swim. They tried grabbing onto the overturned boat, but their hands kept slipping. Nobody was wearing life jackets. Teachers on shore started shouting. Other boats tried turning back, but they were too far away. The pupils in the water were sinking fast. Small arms reaching up, faces disappearing under the surface. The water wasn't deep, but panic made them forget to stand. They inhaled water, choked and drowned. Teachers ran into the water trying to reach them, but by the time they got there, several children had already sunk. The surface was eerily calm, just ripples where they had been moments before. Rescuers pulled the children from the water. Some were still conscious, coughing up water. Others were limp. The pupils were wrapped in blankets and sat crying, watching their friends being carried away. In the end, 5 pupils died. They had drowned in a school outing that should have been fun. Lake Timiskaming Incident. On June 11, 1978, 27 students from St. John's School in Toronto set out on a canoeing expedition. The boys were between 12 and 13 years old. It was part of the school's mandatory outdoor education program, a character-building wilderness trip on Lake Timiskaming, about 217 miles north of Ottawa. 4 teachers and staff went with them for supervision. They'd done this trip before. It was tradition. The boys paddled in groups. Multiple canoes spread across the lake. The water was calm at first. The boys were in good spirits. Some sang songs. Others competed to see who could paddle fastest. They were miles from shore when the weather suddenly changed. Dark clouds appeared on the horizon. The calm water turned choppy. Teachers recognized the danger. They signaled the canoes to head for shore, but they were too far out. Before they could reach land, the storm hit. The boys paddled desperately, but the waves were too strong. In a moment, one canoe capsized, then another. The boys were thrown into the cold water. They tried swimming, but the waves kept pushing them under. Life jackets kept them afloat, but the water temperature was 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's freezing cold.
An average adult won't last beyond 40 minutes in it. Teachers in other canoes tried reaching the boys in the water, but the storm was too violent. Their own canoes were taking on water. Some started capsizing too. The storm lasted for hours. By the time it passed, rescue boats found survivors clinging to overturned canoes, shivering violently in shock. Others floated face down in life jackets. Their bodies had given up fighting the cold. 13 people died, 12 boys and 1 teacher. They drowned and died from hypothermia on a school trip that was supposed to build character.
Water? This is crazy, bro. What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to the worst Disneyland deaths ever. So these are gonna be a bunch of kids who went on vacation to Disneyland and they ended up dying, bro. What? You can die at Disneyland? I didn't even think that was possible. All right, let's check this out. Try not to get scared. If you've ever been to Disneyland, don't go again because you're gonna die.
Behind the magic.
Crushed
Deborah
behind
Gale
the magic?
Stone was 18 years old when she started her dream job as a hostess at Disneyland's America Sings attraction.
Okay, so this girl worked at Disneyland and she like did this like chicken thing
in 1974. The ride was a rotating theater showcasing the history of American music through animatronic characters. Guests sat in
animatronics like Five Nights at Freddy's, bro. They got Five Nights at Freddy's at Disneyland.
Moving outer ring that rotates to different scenes, while the intersection was stationary. Between each scene, large walls would move, creating temporary darkness as the next set appeared. On July 8th, just 2 weeks after the attraction opened, Deborah was stationed between the stationary wall and one of the rotating.
Don't tell me one of the like moving walls, because he said like the walls were moving in this ride. Don't tell me she just got crushed, bro. As a kid, that would be one of my biggest, like, I don't know why I would have nightmares about that, but I'd be in like a library and I'd be like running and the walls would be coming in and then I'd just get like smushed and then I would wake up. That is so creepy, getting smushed by walls. Please don't tell me this happened to this girl. She looks so cute. No, I'm not simping, bro. Chill. I know what you guys are saying. Okay, let's see.
Simple. Guide guests and ensure the show ran smoothly. What wasn't simple was the engineering flaw that would turn deadly. The gap between the moving and stationary walls was just 12 inches at its narrowest point, a space that left no margin for error. At approximately 10:30 p.m., as one scene transitioned to the next, something went wrong. Deborah became caught in the narrow space as the massive wall began its rotation. Security cameras didn't cover this backstage area. There was no emergency stop button within her reach. The hydraulic system powering the rotation exerted thousands of pounds of pressure.
Thousands of pounds of the walls just... Oh my God. Hopefully she's 2,000 pounds.
To move regardless of minor obstructions. Guests in the theater heard screams coming from behind the walls. Many assumed it was part of the show's sound.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. She's getting crushed in the back. She's getting slammed. She's getting pounded in the back. And people thought the sounds that they were hearing was a part of the show. Bro, she's literally getting pounded, bro. Oh my gosh, by the walls.
Mechanical movement, crushing Deborah between them with inexorable force.
Oh my gosh, dude. She's actually getting pounded, bro.
The compression was catastrophic. Her ribcage collapsed first, puncturing her lungs and heart.
I feel bad, bro. So she literally went to work at Disneyland and then she like got crushed by the walls and then she was like, ow! And people were like, oh, that's a cool sound effect. It's not a sound effect.
The pressure fractured her spine and pelvis. By the time other cast members realized something was wrong and stopped the ride, it was too late. When maintenance workers finally separated the walls, they found Deborah's body grotesquely flattened.
Oh my gosh! She got flattened just like in my dreams!
Blood pooling on the floor beneath her. Medical examiners later determined she remained conscious for nearly 40 seconds.
No way. She was conscious. She was aware of what was going on when she was getting smashed.
As her body was slowly crushed, experiencing excruciating pain before death finally came.
Oh my god.
The next day, America Sings reopened with new safety lights and
Bro, they opened the next day. What'd they do? Just mop up the blood and put a caution sign down?
proximity sensors.
What?
Deborah's death became a grim reminder of the machinery behind Disney's magic. The derailment
All
disaster.
right, here's the next one.
Marcelo Torres was 22 years old.
All right, bet. So this is what Marcelo Torres looks like. He was 22 years old. I think he was on vacation at Disneyland. Hopefully he survived,
When he
please.
visited Disneyland with friends on September 5th, 2003.
Okay.
The California native chose to ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Dude, okay, I rode this ride before. These are the rides that aren't scary. These, what the, what's going on, dude? Okay, these are the rides that are not scary. They don't go fast. So how is this guy gonna die? This is called the derailment disaster. How, bro? I never have gotten on this and was like, oh, I'm gonna die. There's
One
no
of
way.
the park's signature attractions. The Gold Rush themed coaster was designed to simulate a runaway mine train, reaching speeds of 30 miles per hour
30 miles per hour, bro. That's slow as hell, bro. I drive 30 miles per hour in my
as
backyard.
it twisted through artificial caverns and desert landscapes. Torres settled into the front row of the first
Okay, that's where he messed up. Why are you in the front seat? Now, I know the front seat is always fun, but if you're gonna get on a seat, the most likely seat that you die in is the first seat.
directly behind the locomotive. What Torres couldn't know was that maintenance crews had been performing improper repairs on the ride for months. The previous night, mechanics had replaced a critical wheel assembly, but failed to install a required safety wire that would keep the axle in place.
Bro, so they installed something, but they didn't put the safety. Bro, y'all so
No
stupid.
supervisor had checked the work. As the train climbed the third lift hill, the unwired axle began to work loose from its housing.
No
At
way.
11:22 a.m., as the train crested the hill and began its descent, the front locomotive's undercarriage violently separated from its chassis. Metal screeched against metal as the cars behind it, still moving at full speed, slammed into the derailed engine.
Oh!
The first passenger car,
It went
where Torres
right-
sat, bore the brunt of the impact. The locomotive's weight crushed inward, compressing the space where Torres was seated.
What the bro? So he literally he was like riding, and then the thing in front of him stopped, and then he's just like, and he's like, ah! Oh my gosh.
The collision fractured Torres's chest and ribs with such
Oh,
force that
no,
bone fragments
bro.
punctured his heart and lungs.
I feel bad for him, bro.
He remained conscious as blood filled his chest cavity,
Oh my god, blood was filling up in his chest, and he
each breath becoming more difficult than the last.
Gosh, what? I mean, what does somebody do to like? What they probably tried to pull him out, but they couldn't.
Medical examiners later found that Torres did not die instantly, but suffocated over approximately 2 minutes as his lungs collapsed.
2 minutes of suffocation, bro. Okay, did those workers get fired? I gotta
Nearby
figure it out.
passengers, many with broken bones and facial lacerations, watched helplessly as he struggled to breathe. When
Dude,
paramedics finally reached
they
the
get
scene,
fired?
they found Torres still strapped in his seat, his body contorted by the
Dude, he was still strapped in, bro. He still had his freaking.
crushed compartment. Blood had soaked through his clothing and pooled on the ride's track below. His friends, seated just behind him, had suffered only minor injuries, a difference of mere inches between life and death.
Okay, so he never said if they got fired, but hopefully they got
The
fired,
boy
bro.
who fell from the mountain.
Okay, here's the next one. The boy who fell from the mountain, bro. There's a boy who fell. What?
Mark Maples was 15 years old when he
Oh my gosh, Mark Maples was 15. No, he's so young. Hopefully he survived. I know he didn't survive, but hopefully he did.
visited Disneyland with his family on January 3rd, 1964.
Okay, 1964. So this was a long time ago. He must have been born in 1949 then. I just did some quick math. Boom.
The Matterhorn bobsleds had been operating for nearly 6 years by then, thrilling guests with its 80-foot drops and
80 feet. Look at that. Oh, dude, I would love to ride that roller coaster, bro. I mean, not anymore because I think somebody died.
sharp turns that simulated an alpine adventure. The steel-tracked ride, themed after Switzerland's iconic mountain, was the first tubular steel roller coaster in the world. Mark and
Really?
his friend boarded a bobsled car in the afternoon, securing the simple lap belt that was the ride's only restraint system. As the bobsled climbed
Dude, only a lap belt, like a seat belt for something. Oh my God, I'm about to throw up on camera. Something that goes 80 feet, you only get a seat belt? Bro, see, back in the day, people didn't know what the hell
initial
they were
lift
doing.
hill, Mark was visibly excited. Other passengers in
Sit
nearby
down!
sleds later reported that he had been daring his friend to raise their hands during the drops.
Oh, wow, raise your hands. Wow, I used to do that all the time, bro. What? That's not even scary.
The cars reached the top of the first hill, preparing for the signature plunge that made the ride famous. What happened next occurred in just seconds. At the crest of the hill, as the bobsled began to pick up speed, Mark suddenly stood up. Whether it was a moment of teenage bravado or a misunderstanding about
Bro just stood up on a roller
the ride's
coaster.
mechanics remains unknown.
Mark.
The physics were unforgiving. As the sled pitched downward at 20 miles per hour,
He must
Mark
have
lost his
fell
balance.
back.
His center of
he
gravity
fell
shifted forward, and the momentum pulled him completely out of the vehicle. Mark fell approximately 30 feet before striking the steel track below.
Oh!
Primary impact was to his skull, causing an immediate depressed cranial fracture.
Oh!
Bone fragments were driven deep into his frontal lobe.
Oh, the bone into his brain. Oh!
Though the brain damage was catastrophic, death was not instantaneous. Medical examiners later determined that Mark remained alive for at least 2 minutes after impact.
Bro, why'd they put the Among Us crown on his head, bro? What?
His breathing
The
shallow
hell?
and irregular as his brain began to swell inside his shattered skull.
Oh my gosh, his skull shattered and then his brain started leaking out. Okay, rest in peace to you, bro. I'm skipping this. I can't. Oh no. Rest in peace to him. All right, let's see the next one.
Decapitated on the slopes. Dolly
Decapitated on the
Regine Young
slopes?
was 48 years old when
Okay, so we got a 48-year-old Dolly Regine Young. Bet.
she visited Disneyland in January 1984.
Okay,
The Matterhorn
1984.
bobsleds had been one of the park's signature attractions for decades.
Bro, wait. She died on this? The same thing that kid just died on? How did they not shut this down?
And Dolly
Nah.
was eager to experience the Alpine-themed coaster again.
Nah,
The ride
bruh.
featured toboggan-style vehicles that raced through an artificial
No
mountain
way.
at speeds approaching 30 miles per hour.
Okay, yeah, we know,
Each
dude. You
three-person
just
bobsled
said
was
that.
equipped with seatbelts.
You just said that, you stupid. All right,
At
let's see
first,
what
everything
happened.
seemed fine. Then, as the vehicle navigated a sharp turn halfway through the ride, disaster struck. The bobsled hit a particularly rough section of track known for its jarring bumps. Dolly, without the security of a fastened seatbelt, was
Bro, she didn't put her seatbelt on. You
jolted
stupid.
upward. The momentum of the speeding vehicle combined with the centrifugal force of the turn was enough to
Huh?
lift her completely out of her seat. In an instant, she was thrown from the bobsled onto the cold metal track,
Oh,
her
no.
body splayed across the rails.
Oh no.
For approximately 4 seconds, Dolly lay on the track, possibly conscious and aware of her predicament.
Bro, she fell off, but she was on the track. Don't tell me the ride comes back around and just hits her. No.
Then came the sound of the next bobsled,
Choo choo!
already descending the mountain just 20 seconds behind hers. The oncoming vehicle had no time to stop. Its steel undercarriage struck Dolly's upper body with tremendous force. The impact severed her neck almost completely,
Oh my gosh.
leaving her head attached by only a few tendons and blood vessels.
Oh my gosh! Her head was chopped off, but it was barely.
Blood sprayed across the white artificial snow, creating a ghastly contrast that would later haunt the ride operators who discovered her. The bobsled that struck her derailed partially, stranding its passengers above the grisly scene. Those riders reported hearing a sickening sound, part thud, part crack, as their vehicle hit what they initially thought was a piece of the ride's scenery. When
Bro, they thought their ride hit a rock, but it was really a person.
emergency responders arrived, they found Dolly's body wedged beneath the derailed bobsled, her head twisted at an impossible angle.
Oh my god. Okay, so did they shut this damn ride down? I gotta figure this
The
out.
coroner later determined that death was mercifully
Bro, she's on the autopsy table with her neck just like completely.
resulting
Bro.
from immediate trauma.
That's
to the
a
spinal
savage
cord
drawing.
and massive hemorrhaging.
Okay, he didn't say if they shut the ride down. I'm pretty sure they did. But let's go to the next one.
The Toontown tragedy.
The Toontown tragedy.
Brandon Zucker was 4 years old when he visited Disneyland with his parents on September.
Bro, 4 years old. He's a 4-year-old. No.
The Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin ride
Wait,
had
what?
been operating in the park's Toontown section for 6 years.
Wait, this kid died in the cartoon town. Wait, this looks like the most family-friendly ride of all time. Hold on. What? He died in here? Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin? What?
Roger
I
Rabbit's
gotta see
cartoon
how.
spin ride
How,
had been
bro?
operating in the
How?
park's
How
Toontown
did he?
section for 6 years.
What?
The attraction featured spinning cartoon taxicabs that moved along a
Wow.
track through colorful scenes.
They moved like maybe 3 miles per hour. How did he die? Did he like vomit because he was eating so many funnel
Each
cakes or
vehicle
something?
could rotate 360 degrees as it
Wow.
progressed through the ride. Controlled by a steering wheel inside the cab, Brandon, an energetic preschooler with bright eyes and brown hair, sat in the same
Dude.
cab as his mother.
Bro, his mom was even with him, bro. How did he die? I gotta see
The
this.
ride began normally as their yellow taxi entered the first scene. The vehicle spun gently as Brandon's mother turned the wheel. About halfway through the attraction, as the cab made a sharp turn, something went terribly wrong.
Okay, maybe let me try to guess. I think something might have caught on fire or something, and then they burned because there's no way you can die on a slow ride like this. There's no way.
The small opening between the bottom of the cab door and the ride floor was approximately 7 inches, just large enough for a child's body to pass through. In a moment of excitement or imbalance, Brandon slipped down from his seat. Before his mother could react, he slid through the gap beneath the door. The vehicle's momentum dragged him immediately under the moving cab.
Huh?
The metal undercarriage, weighing over 700 pounds, rolled over Brandon's small body. The crushing force caused catastrophic compression injuries to his chest and abdomen.
Oh!
Most devastating was the oxygen deprivation to his brain, which began the moment his chest was crushed. For approximately 3 minutes, Brandon remained pinned beneath the taxi as the
3
ride
minutes?
continued to operate. Other guests heard his mother's screams, but couldn't understand what was happening.
Oh my god, they thought it was a part of the ride. So he like slipped out of the thing, he got crushed, and his mom's just like, ah! Oh my god, I feel
the
bad.
darkened attraction. When operators finally stopped the ride and emergency personnel reached him, Brandon was unconscious. His pulse was faint, his breathing almost imperceptible. Paramedics performed CPR as they rushed him to the hospital. Brandon survived the initial trauma but had suffered irreversible brain damage. For the next 9 years, he remained in a persistent vegetative state, kept
No
alive by
way.
feeding tubes and constant care.
Bro, 9 years. So he was 4 years old when this happened, and then he was in a coma up until he was 13 years old, being fed by feeding tube.
His body grew, but his mind never recovered.
Wow, he got bigger in a coma. That's crazy.
Medical experts explained that each day, his brain cells continued to die from the original injury. On January 26, 2009, at age 13, Brandon's body finally succumbed to pneumonia,
Oh my
a direct
gosh.
complication of his bedridden condition.
Oh
The
my
official cause of death
gosh.
was listed as complications from anoxic encephalopathy,
What the hell does that mean, bro?
brain damage caused by oxygen
Don't nobody know what that
deprivation nearly
is?
a decade earlier.
All right, here's the
Christmas
next
Eve
one.
catastrophe.
Christmas Eve? Somebody got hit in the head with something on Christmas Eve at Disneyland. That's the worst. This is the worst story ever. Christmas Eve?
Luan Fee Dawson was 33 years old when he
Okay, this is a 33-year-old guy named Luan Fee Dawson. It looks pretty cool. Bro,
visited Disneyland with his family on December 24th, 1998.
no, this is Christmas Eve. That's like one of the best days ever. The best day ever is literally Christmas, and then before it is Christmas Eve.
The holiday
Oh my
crowds
God.
filled the park as Dawson, his
Wow.
wife Lu Tui Vuong, and their daughter
Huh?
gathered near the sailing ship Columbia attraction. The Columbia was a full-scale replica of an 18th century sailing vessel that circled the rivers of America. The
Okay.
ship, weighing over 110 tons, was
Damn,
secured to the
222,000
dock by
pounds?
heavy ropes attached to metal cleats bolted into the wooden deck. At
what's
approximately
gonna
6:15 p.m., as guests were boarding for the next journey, a cast member attempted to secure one of the mooring lines. The rope being used was not the specified marine-grade nylon, but a cheaper, less flexible polyester
Bro, I hate polyester, but polyester is disgusting. Check your clothes right now. Are you wearing polyester? It's not good!
substitute that had been installed during recent maintenance. As the massive ship pulled against its moorings, the rope suddenly went taut with over 2,000 pounds of pressure. The strain proved too much for the substandard material. With a sound like a rifle shot, the rope snapped. The released tension sent the heavy metal cleat flying through the air at nearly 100 miles per hour.
This big metal thing was flying at 100 miles per hour.
The 8-pound brass fixture became a deadly projectile, ripping free from its mounting bolts and spinning wildly toward the crowd of waiting guests.
No way.
Dawson had no time to react. The metal cleat struck him
Bro, that's bogus. This dude just did a reaction edit. Look.
wildly toward the crowd of waiting guests. Dawson had no time to react. The metal cleat struck him directly in the skull, just above his right temple. The impact crushed his cranial bone
Wow.
inward with such force that bone fragments penetrated 3 inches into his brain. The traumatic injury severed
3
blood
inches is
vessels
big.
and destroyed critical brain tissue instantly.
Oh my
Neurologists later
gosh.
explained that while death was not immediate, consciousness was lost within milliseconds as intracranial pressure spiked catastrophically.
So
Blood
he just
poured from the
died?
wound as Dawson collapsed onto the festively decorated dock. His
Bro, he was with his wife and his daughter on Christmas Eve on vacation.
wife, standing just beside him, was also struck by the projectile as it ricocheted. The cleat
What?
tore through her cheekbone and jaw, leaving her critically injured but alive. Their young daughter watched in horror as both
Her mom and dad got smacked up.
parents fell. Emergency medical technicians reached Dawson within minutes, but the injury was unsurvivable. Despite being rushed to the nearby UC Irvin Medical Center, he was pronounced dead at 8:48 p.m., just as Christmas Eve celebrations around the park were
He didn't even get to see Christmas,
reaching their
bro.
peak. His death marked the first guest fatality at Disneyland directly attributable to mechanical failure, rather than guest
What
behavior
happened to
or
his wife?
pre-existing medical conditions.
What happened to his wife? Okay, he doesn't want to tell us.
Hoover
Let's go to the
Tunnel
next one.
Crush.
Tunnel Crush?
Ricky Lee Yama was 17 years old when he visited Disneyland on a warm August
17-year-old, bro. Oh my
day in
gosh.
1967. The People Mover attraction, which had opened just the
What?
previous year, was a
Yeah, you can
futuristic
tell that this is some
1967.
old.
The People
You can tell this is from 1900s, bro. Nobody's on their phone at all. You see how no one's on their phone? This guy's got like a camera hanging. Nobody's on their phone, bro. This is actually fire. Too bad somebody
Mover
died.
attraction, which had opened just the previous year, was a futuristic transportation system that offered guests a leisurely journey through Tomorrowland. The ride consisted of small 4-person cars that moved continuously along an elevated track at a steady 5 miles per hour. There were
Okay.
no doors.
So these cars are moving at 5 miles per hour. So how did someone die?
Doors on the vehicles, just open sides that allowed guests to easily enter and exit at the loading platform.
5 miles per hour?
Ricky was with friends that afternoon enjoying the park's attractions. Witnesses later reported seeing the teenagers engaging in horseplay near the People Mover, possibly daring each other to jump between moving cars.
Okay, so they're just messing around, goofing around. I used to do this with my friends. We would goof around, do some crazy stuff.
This dangerous activity wasn't uncommon among thrill-seeking teens, despite clear warnings against it.
So he was going to jump from one car to another. Well, they're only moving at 5 miles per hour. So if you can't do that, you must be fat.
As the train of connected cars entered a dark tunnel section near the Adventure Through Inner Space
he did it in the dark tunnel?
attraction, Ricky made his fateful decision. With his friends watching, he leapt from the platform toward a moving car. The gap between cars was only 18 inches, seemingly easy to cross.
Bro, that's like this big, bro. How can you not do it?
But Ricky mistimed his jump. His foot caught the edge of a car, causing him to lose balance. He tumbled downward, falling directly onto the moving track below. The fall itself wasn't far, just 4 feet, but the consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Before Ricky could regain his footing in the darkened tunnel, the next train of People Mover cars rounded the bend. The front edge of the first car struck his body, knocking him flat against the track. The undercarriage, with its wheels and mechanical components, passed directly over him. The weight of the car crushed his ribcage, puncturing his lungs and heart, but death didn't come instantly.
Really?
As Ricky lay injured on the track, unable to move, additional cars continued to pass over him. Each one inflicted new trauma to his already broken body.
Bro, it's like GTA 5 when you get hit by one car, the pedestrians don't give a damn, they just keep hitting you.
The ride's mechanical system, designed to move continuously, dragged him along the track for approximately 340 feet through the dark tunnel. Other guests, seated in cars passing through the same tunnel, heard his screams, but couldn't see what was happening in the dark.
Bro, so they were just like sitting like, boom, and they were like, oh, what was that? Dude, that's insane, bro. I'm never going to this. What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to the most painful drive-through deaths ever. Look at this. Somebody was apparently going through Wendy's and somehow they got their head chopped off. These are going to be crazy stories of people who were just going through the drive-through, getting a burger, getting a sandwich, getting some french fries, and then they died. This video is probably going to get deleted by YouTube, so if you're watching this, you should feel special. Let's go. Most painful drive-through deaths. Sylvester Zottala.
2018, Sylvester Zottala pulled his SUV into a...
Okay, hold on, bro. Why the hell are you going to McDonald's? You need to go to the barber, bro. You look like Shakespeare, bro. What the hell is that? George Washington haircut ass. All right, I need to stop. I just started the video and I'm already being rude. All right, I'm not going to pause the video the rest of the time. Promise. Let's go. Let's see how this guy died.
Drive-through in the Bronx. The 71-year-old real estate businessman was known for his tough approach to business and connections to organized crime families in New York. As he waited for his order in the vehicle, he had no...
Bro, what type of car is that, bro? That's the worst car ever. Bro, I hope somebody crashes into you.
He was being tracked by a GPS device planted on his car weeks earlier. Zottala had survived multiple attempts on his life in the previous year. In November 2017, he was stabbed in the neck and chest outside his home. In December, 3 men invaded his house, stabbed him, and cut his throat. Somehow, he survived both attacks.
Bro, this dude, bro, maybe I need to get a haircut like that. How the hell are you, bro, what the? Okay, so people are trying to kill this guy because he's got a ton of money. That's crazy, bro. The world is crazy. Let's see what happened at McDonald's.
But this
McDonald's was his final
time would be different. As Zottala's SUV idled in the narrow drive-through lane, a dark sedan pulled up alongside him. Bro. The driver's window lowered. Within seconds, 5 gunshots were fired at point-blank range. The bullets tore through the side window of Zottala's vehicle, striking him in the head, chest, and shoulder. The shots were precise and clearly intended to guarantee death. There was no chance of survival. As blood spread across the interior of the SUV...
did it shoot into the McDonald's? Imagine you're just like cooking. Let's say you're cooking McDonald's. You're just like, you know, sizzling the nuggets or whatever. I don't know how they cook that stuff. It's probably pre-made. Oh! Like you're like making a burger and then a bullet flies through the burger, dude. That would be
Zottala slumped over the steering wheel. His foot slipped off the brake, causing his vehicle to roll forward slowly before stopping against the restaurant wall. First responders found him still strapped in his seatbelt, the engine running, food order undelivered.
Hey,
he was pronounced dead at the scene. What investigators discovered in the following months was more disturbing than the execution-style killing itself. The hit had been orchestrated by Anthony Zottala Sr., Sylvester's own son.
Huh? His son made it?
Anthony had paid Bashan Shelton, a member of the Bloods gang, $200,000 to have his father killed.
What?
The GPS tracker was the key to finding Sylvester at the drive-thru that day, where he had become a sitting target with no escape route. The father's death allowed the son to take control of the family's multi-million-dollar real estate empire, turning a simple drive-thru visit into a calculated assassination. Anthony Makowski.
Okay, here's the next one. Imagine dying like you're like, oh, I'm about to give me a Big Mac. Boom! That's your final thought, bro. Okay, Let's watch this. I'm not pausing, promise.
Night in Jacksonville, Florida, Anthony Mikowski pulled into a McDonald's parking lot with...
Why is it always McDonald's, bro? Okay, I'm never going... I mean, I don't go there anyway, but I'm not going to McDonald's, bro, because you're going to die.
Friends. The 21-year-old Navy man had spent the evening at a nightclub and stopped for late-night food. What began as a routine fast food run would end in his death, captured entirely on the restaurant's security cameras. Around 2:15 a.m., Mikowski and his friends were waiting in the drive-thru lane when they became involved in a verbal altercation with another group of young men. The argument quickly escalated. Security footage showed Mikowski exiting his vehicle and confronting the other group in the parking lot. Words were exchanged, tensions rose, and within moments the confrontation turned physical. Mikowski was grabbed by 20-year-old Lacey Eberly, who applied what witnesses later described as a chokehold or headlock from behind. The security camera captured Mikowski's initial struggle as Eberly maintained his grip.
What is his friends doing, bro? Now they're getting out of the car? Why are you getting out of the car now, bro? If my friend got out of the car and he's arguing with somebody and then they punch him, I'm definitely out of the car. I'm punching back, bro.
For approximately 90 seconds, Eberly held Mikowski in the restraint.
How? What is his friends doing? 90 seconds, bro. If my friend was getting choked out, he would probably get choked out for 3 seconds before I came over with a flying... Bro, what was his friends doing, bro? Were they that hungry? You wanted your McDonald's that bad? You're like, oh, hold on, my friend's about to die from not being able to breathe. Wait, one more minute? All right, hold on, one more. Like, what the...
Medical examiner would later determine this caused a fatal interruption of blood flow to Mikowski's brain.
Oh my God.
In those critical seconds, oxygen deprivation began causing irreversible damage. Witnesses reported seeing Mikowski's face turning purple, his legs kicking less and less as the seconds passed. By the time Eberly released his hold, Mikowski collapsed to the pavement, unresponsive.
Look at how shocked he looks. He just choked him out and now he's dead. He's going to jail. But what are your friends doing, bro? Mikowski, you got to get better friends, bro. He's like, oh no. Bro, I'm not doing that. If my friend's choked out on the ground, I'm Oh my God. Put me in one of these situations.
Attempted CPR, but the damage was already done. Paramedics arrived within minutes, finding Mikowski without pulse or respiration. He was transported to Shands Jacksonville Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. The autopsy revealed Mikowski had died from asphyxiation due to compression of his neck blood vessels. Despite the clear video evidence of the incident, prosecutors declined to file criminal charges, ruling that Eberly had acted in self-defense. This decision sparked outrage and eventually led to a civil lawsuit from Mikowski's family, challenging how a fast food argument had turned into a death sentence.
So what happened to his friends, though? Like, why were the friends just sitting there?
Anthony Tony Isles.
That's so
On September 8th,
stupid.
2021, Anthony Isles pulled his vehicle into a
McDonald's. Did never go to McDonald's again, guys.
drive-thru in Vancouver, British Columbia.
My God.
The 42-year-old elevator mechanic was making a routine stop for breakfast before heading to work. He had just celebrated his wedding anniversary days before, and photos on social media showed a happy family man with his wife and 2 young children, ages 8 and 6. As Isles reached the payment window, he handed over his bank card to pay for his meal. The transaction complete, the employee returned his card, but instead of landing in Isles' hand, it fell to the ground outside his vehicle.
Okay, hold on. What's going to happen here? He gave him the card. He dropped it. I've done that before. Hold on. And I didn't die. I dropped my card, and then I got out of my car and got the card. Yeah.
It was a small mistake that would have fatal consequences. Isles put his car in park, but left the engine running as he opened his door to retrieve the card.
Okay.
What happened next was captured on the restaurant's surveillance cameras. As Isles leaned out to reach for his card, his vehicle suddenly moved forward. The gap between his SUV and the building's brick wall rapidly closed. In a split second, Isles became pinned between his car door and the restaurant's structure.
Oh my God. Bro, he forgot to put his car in park. He got out and then grabbed it, but then his door was behind him and the brick wall of the building was there. So it was like pushing him into the brick wall. He didn't know where... Oh my God, that used to be one of my biggest fears as a kid. I would always see, like, in games or movies, like, you're in a room, right? And then the walls start closing in. Imagine that. You're in a room and the walls are closing and you're like, holy, what the hell do I do? Oh, and then it just gets closer and closer and you're like, yeah, and you explode. That actually happened to this guy at a McDonald's. Oh!
Sure. The pressure immediately crushed his chest and abdomen, restricting his ability to breathe. Drive-thru staff heard his initial cry for help and rushed outside, but found themselves unable to move the vehicle.
Man, get in the car in reverse!
The deadly compression. For several agonizing minutes, Isles remained conscious, trapped in the narrowing space as his vital organs were compressed. Oxygen deprivation began affecting his brain as he struggled for breath against the immovable wall and weight of his own vehicle. By the time emergency responders arrived and managed to move the vehicle, the damage was catastrophic. Despite immediate medical attention, Anthony Isles was pronounced dead at the scene from a traumatic
Wow.
asphyxiation and internal injuries.
I feel bad for his wife and his kids. He just said he just got married and he had 2 kids, a beautiful wife. And dude, imagine like it was in the morning. He went to go get breakfast. And then imagine his wife probably sleeping in. And then she gets a call. Hey, your husband died at McDonald's. Oh my God, bro.
The Vancouver Police Department later determined that he had likely bumped the gear shift while reaching down, causing the vehicle to lurch forward while he was partially outside it. What should have been a mundane breakfast stop had turned deadly in mere seconds over a dropped bank card. Richard Lowry.
It's better
On
not be
October 17th,
McDonald's.
2022,
I swear.
Richard Lowry celebrated his 86th birthday with family in
Okay.
Olathe, Kansas. After the gathering, the elderly man decided to treat himself to a meal at a local McDonald's drive-thru.
You
It
getting
was a
me?
cool autumn evening when Lowry pulled his silver Honda sedan into the narrow lane of the restaurant. Friends would later describe him as an active senior who still enjoyed his independence despite his advanced age. As Lowry reached the payment window and prepared to order, he accidentally dropped his eyeglasses from the vehicle. The prescription glasses fell just outside his car door, close enough that he thought he could retrieve them without leaving his vehicle. Security camera footage later showed Lowry opening his door and leaning out while still seated behind the
Don't
wheel.
tell me the same
What he didn't
thing.
realize was that his foot was slipping off the brake pedal. In a tragic sequence captured by the restaurant's surveillance system, Lowry's body stretched further out of the vehicle as he reached for the glasses. His foot then made contact with the accelerator pedal.
Oh my
the Honda
God.
lurched forward suddenly and with significant force. The open car door struck the building's exterior wall, creating an instant crush point with Lowry caught in between.
Bro.
The impact pinned Lowry's head and upper body between the door and the wall. Witnesses reported hearing a sickening sound as his skull made contact with the brick exterior. Drive-thru employees rushed outside but found Lowry already unconscious.
This happens
With severe-
often? This is 2 times where somebody gets out of their car and then gets smashed against the wall. Oh my God.
severe trauma visible to his head and neck. The pressure had caused immediate and catastrophic damage to his brainstem. First responders arrived within minutes and managed to free him from the compression point, but the injury had already proven fatal. Despite resuscitation attempts, Richard Lowry was pronounced dead at the scene.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is if you go to McDonald's, which you shouldn't, but if you do, don't get out of your car.
The medical examiner later confirmed that blunt force trauma to the head was the cause of death.
Oh my
The date on his death
God.
certificate would match that of his birth certificate. A cruel
Oh my
coincidence that turned
God.
a birthday celebration.
Wow, it was his birthday. I forgot he said. Imagine being born and dead on the same day. That's what, you know what? This might sound crazy, but I think that's honestly, he deserved it. Why are you going to McDonald's on your birthday? You're trying to get a birthday snack? Hell no, bruh.
Into his final day. Kendrick Ingram Jr.
All right, if this is McDonald's, I swear to,
On
it's
June
not going to be. It's got to be Burger King or Wendy's or something, right? Not McDonald's.
26, 2022, temperatures in Columbus, Georgia reached a sweltering 96 degrees
That's
Fahrenheit.
hot as hell.
3-year-old Kendrick Ingram Jr. spent the day with his grandmother and other family members, visiting
Aw.
church and running various errands. The little boy, known for his bright smile and energetic personality, had no way of knowing that this ordinary Sunday would be his last.
Oh, it's a little
After a
kid.
day of activities, the family stopped at a Wendy's drive-thru around 5:30 p.m.
Wendy's, let's go. We got Wendy's. We got Wendy's.
Kendrick's grandmother was driving the SUV with several other children inside. After ordering food, they returned home, where the grandmother and other children exited the vehicle. In the confusion of managing multiple young children, a critical oversight occurred. Kendrick remained buckled in his car seat in the third row of the SUV, forgotten and left
Oh.
behind. For the next 2 hours and 45 minutes, the temperature inside the vehicle
No.
climbed rapidly. Scientific
No.
studies show that on a 96-degree day, the interior of a parked car can reach 124 degrees in just 30 minutes. After 1 hour,
Oh.
temperatures can exceed 140 degrees. Kendrick was trapped in these escalating conditions, unable to free himself from his car seat. The physiological effects would have been swift and severe. Medical experts describe how a child's body temperature rises 3 to 5 times faster than an adult's. As the heat intensified, Kendrick would have experienced increasing distress. His breathing would have become labored as his body attempted to cool itself. Dehydration would have set in rapidly, causing his heart to beat faster while his organs began to shut down.
No.
Around 8:15 p.m., Kendrick's uncle borrowed the SUV to make a food run,
Oh.
returning to the same Wendy's drive-thru. While waiting in line, he discovered the child's motionless body still strapped in the back seat.
Oh, hell. That's one of the worst stories I've ever heard, bro. Oh, my God. Okay, hold on. I got to pause, bro. Wait, what? This 3-year-old kid was hanging out with his grandma all day and his other 2 siblings. He had like, him and a bunch of his cousins and siblings were hanging out with his grandma. This happens all the time. They go get food from Wendy's. All the kids are hungry, right? She gets the kids out of their car, but she forgets the one in the back seat. He's outside in 95-degree weather in the car. Oh my God. He ends up passing away in the back seat, just like melting, right? Then the grandpa comes and uses the car, goes to the drive-thru again to get more food. And then, oh my God, he's just like ordering. Yeah. And then like he looks, oh my, I can't even. That is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Wow.
He immediately drove to the emergency room, but it was too late. Hospital staff pronounced Kendrick dead from hyperthermia. His small body had simply been unable to withstand the extreme heat. Inside the closed vehicle, with no water and no means of escape, the toddler had suffered a slow, agonizing death while his family remained unaware just yards away.
Look at this, bro. They're inside playing with each other. And like, I bet he could see them. I bet he was like, please. But he was in his car seat and he's like 3 years old, so he doesn't know how to get out. Oh my God, bro.
Charles Wood Jr.
Okay.
On December 20th, 2018, a cold winter night in St. Louis, Charles Wood Jr. pulled his car into a Jack in the Box drive.
Jack in the Box? Who the hell eats Jack in the Box?
Drive-through. The 20-year-old was a former high school football player who worked at a local factory. Friends described him as outgoing and quick to smile. It was around 10 p.m. when he placed his order at the speaker box, then drove forward to the payment window. When Wood reached the pickup window, the employee handed him his food order. But there was a problem. The bag was just out of his reach. Rather than opening his door and stepping out, Wood chose to remain seated while extending his upper body out of the driver's side window. Security camera footage would later...
He should have watched this video, bro, because if he watched this video, he would have known not to do that.
...show him stretching his arm toward the bag, fingers outstretched, as the employee tried to close the gap. What happened next occurred in mere seconds. As Wood leaned further out, his foot apparently slipped off the brake pedal. The car was still in drive with the engine running. Witnesses reported seeing the vehicle suddenly lurch backward in an arc. Before Wood could pull himself back inside, his car slammed into a tree situated near the drive-thru lane. The impact caught him between the driver's door and the tree trunk.
This dude was in reverse. So he pulled up to the window and then he was like, oh snap, I'm not that close. So he put it in reverse and then tried grabbing it. Grabbed it. Oh, I can't grab it. He reaches out. He gets off the brake. So then he starts going in reverse and he's hanging out the window and then boom, gets smashed in between a tree. Oh my God.
The collision immediately compressed Wood's torso, head, neck, and legs.
Oh my God.
Bystanders rushed to help, but the position of the vehicle made it nearly impossible to free him quickly.
Bro, I would have.
Wood was conscious for the first moments after impact, gasping for breath as the pressure on his chest increased. Employees and customers tried desperately to move the car, but without equipment, they could not generate enough force. Emergency responders arrived within 6 minutes, but found Wood unresponsive at the scene. Despite their efforts to extract him and begin life-saving measures.
What the hell is that, bro? You trying to put toilet paper on him? Okay, yeah, I'm never going to drive through. What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to the most painful airplane deaths ever. Look at this, bro. Somebody got their face ripped off. They got sucked out of an airplane. This is going to be insane. And it's even crazier because literally in about 4 hours, I'm getting on an airplane. I'm going on a cruise with my family. So, dude, I don't know why I'm watching this. This might be a bad idea. If you guys have a plane ride coming up, don't watch this, bro. We're going to find out the craziest plane deaths. Oh, God. 20 minutes.
It was supposed to be an ordinary flight from New York to Dallas. Instead, it turned into one of the most horrifying mid-air tragedies in US aviation history. On April 17th, 2018, a woman would board a Boeing 737 carrying 149 people to take a trip back to her home in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay, first off, why do you even live in Albuquerque, New Mexico? That's the weirdest place ever. Also, 100+ people on this plane. Hopefully nothing happens, bro. That's insane.
On Southwest Airlines, passengers aren't assigned specific seats. They simply just band together in groups and pick any seat that's available. The only one left for the woman was a seat in row 14 on the left side of the plane next to a window.
Hold on, row 14. Hold on, I gotta check mine. Dude, because I swear mine said 14 earlier when I looked at it. Hold on. Okay, no, I'm tripping. It says 19. You won't be able to see it because my camera's busted. 19. Whew, I was about to say, I'm turning this video off. All right, I'm not going to pause it anymore. Everybody always gets mad when I pause it. If I pause it, you can unsubscribe. I promise I'm not going to pause it ever again.
After making herself comfortable in her new spot, something unexpected would happen. After the plane took off, it spontaneously suffered a catastrophic engine failure at 32,000 feet.
Oh, man.
A fan blade broke loose, ripping through the engine casing and sending dangerous shrapnel into the plane's fuselage. One piece of debris struck a window, instantly blowing it out. And as you would guess, the window it struck would be none other than the woman's. In an instant, the 43-year-old mother of two was partially sucked out of the plane. The decompression...
Where was your seatbelt, dude?
Depression was violent. Passengers scrambled in shock as the rushing wind pulled her torso outside, leaving her head and arms flailing violently into the sky.
Dude, like, have you ever put your head outside the window in a car? Like, if you're on the highway, it's like, right? Like, it's pretty high power when you're on the highway, but you do it anyway because it's fun. That's 70 miles per hour. Imagine like 500 miles per hour. This plane's going like 500 miles per hour. Your eyeballs are broken. Like oh my.
Desperate to save her, fellow passengers held onto her legs, trying to keep her body inside the plane with every ounce of their strength. Flight attendants fought chaos with calmness, urging everyone to remain seated while the crew prepared for an emergency descent. For 20 agonizing minutes, the cabin was a battleground between survival and disaster. Despite passengers' efforts, the vicious thrashing was too severe on the woman's body. By the time the crippled jet made its emergency landing in Philadelphia, she had passed away. Times like these revealed just how fragile safety can be at 30,000 feet in the air, and how a single shattered pane of glass can mean the difference between a peaceful ride to your destination and pure tragedy.
So if the glass ever breaks, you better lock in, bro. All right, here's the next one.
It was a desperate escape. A young boy longed for adventure, for freedom beyond the confines of his home in Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
On February 21st, 1970, he slipped past security at the Sydney airport and crawled into the wheel well of a DC-8 jet that was headed for Tokyo.
Okay, what? This kid snuck out of his house. He's young. I think he said he was like 9 years old. Snuck out of his house, snuck by the airport workers, and then climbed into a wheel section of a jet.
He thought he'd hidden himself safely away and that he was ready to be carried across the world. But stowaway flights carry a fatal flaw. Moments after takeoff, the landing gear began to retract. While the plane was flying, the wheel well doors opened, and the boy was suddenly exposed to the rushing sky. With no warning, he tumbled out, plummeting 200 feet to the ground, with his body slamming into the earth as horrified witnesses looked on. In a tragic twist, a photographer testing out a new camera lens wanted to give the device a try. He thought to himself, what's more breathtaking to photograph than a plane on the verge of takeoff? As he positioned himself and his new camera lens to take a photo of the plane flying, he would accidentally and unknowingly capture the boy's final fall.
No way.
This incident would leave behind a tragic and haunting image of a body suspended midair just seconds before doom.
Dude, that's an actual photo. So nobody was hurt, by the way, YouTube. This is a fake photo and stuff. But dude, this is a photo of what the? How do you just like perfectly time that? Oh my gosh.
His parents were devastated. Reports show that in response to him running away, they would travel with him overseas to satisfy his adventurous spirit. But even at that, he still kept running away, so they sent him to a boarding school to keep him grounded and protected. Nonetheless, the boy still escaped. I won't lie,
this guy just wanted to travel, bro. This guy would escape from any... His parents sent him to a boarding school because he kept escaping the house trying to go travel. He didn't give a damn. I bet he enjoyed falling from the sky. I bet he was like, this is dope.
The blender.
All right, the blender incident.
Airports are supposed to be gateways of excitement, the place where journeys begin. But for one man at the Milan Malpensa airport, the runway became a place of unimaginable shock.
Oh my God, I think the blender incident, I think this might be that he got sucked into the propeller of the plane. Like if you ever played GTA 5, in one of the missions, somebody got sucked into the propeller and they got blended up. Oh my God, don't tell me that actually happened in real life.
July 2023, a 35-year-old ground worker and father of two would slip past security and break onto the runway. The man didn't have any tickets and wasn't a plane passenger of any sort, so staff and security alike would tackle him down to the ground. However, upon breaking free from their grasps, he would begin climbing onto the side of the Airbus. As the plane began slowly powering up and got ready to take off, its sudden movement caused the man to fall off. Without a second to waste, the man would jump back up and run to the other side of the plane to climb on top of it again. However, as he was crossing the left side, the jet's ginormous engine would violently suck the man inside. A jet engine's blades are razor sharp and spin thousands of times per minute. Not to mention that the deeper you go inside of it, the hotter it gets. The man instantly was blended into a red mess. His remains were unrecognizable, and the only things that were assumed to be left behind were pieces of bone, tissue, and shredded clothing. Witnesses like the aircraft marshal said the force was so sudden and violent that there was absolutely no chance of escape.
Dude, he said that he got all chopped up and blended, but then it was warm in there. So I bet he got cooked. Like he actually genuinely got cooked up and chopped up. It was like freaking like cooked human meat. Oh my gosh.
He'd go on to say that one moment, as the marshal, he was guiding the plane into position. The next moment, he sees the powerful vacuum of the engine ripping a man from the ground and dragging his body into its spinning blades. The sound was deafening. Passengers on board watched in shock, realizing what had just happened. Authorities later confirmed that the man passed away instantly. Colleagues described him as cheerful, hardworking, and devoted to his family.
Okay, but did they keep flying? Like, dude, if I get on this plane, this isn't gonna happen, hopefully, right? But if I get on this plane, then we're like taking off, and somebody gets chopped up to the thing, are we just gonna keep flying? Are we gonna slow down? Like, dude, I don't want to miss my flight.
But his passing was a chilling reminder of the brutal physics at play in aviation. One simple misstep of being too close to an active engine can erase a life in seconds, or maybe even quicker.
Wow.
The Ghost Plane Incident.
Ghost plane
On the
incident?
morning of August 14th, 2005, what began as a routine flight from Cyprus to Athens turned into one of the eeriest tragedies in aviation history. A Boeing 737 carrying 121 people climbed into the skies. But just minutes after takeoff, something was terribly wrong. The cabin pressurization system had been left in manual mode during pre-flight checks. As the aircraft ascended, oxygen levels dropped. Slowly, everyone on board began to lose consciousness. Passengers slumped in their seats. The pilots collapsed at the controls. And as for the plane, it became eerily silent on the inside and kept on flying at 34,000 feet in the sky on autopilot. For 2 hours, the plane would continuously fly in a circle above Athens.
Wow, so these people forgot to flick a switch on the plane or whatever, so it took all the oxygen out of the plane and everyone just like fell asleep, dude, and it was just flying. Hopefully they woke up and landed
A massive aircraft, full of unconscious souls, drifting with no one in command. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept it, peering into the cockpit only to see the captain's chair empty and the co-pilot slumped lifelessly over the controls. Meanwhile, oxygen masks dangled uselessly from the ceiling. But then, one man moved. Flight attendant Andreas Prodromou had regained partial consciousness thanks to a portable oxygen supply. In a desperate final act, he entered the cockpit and tried to save the aircraft. Witnesses believe he attempted to steer it away from Athens, sparing the city from catastrophe. At 12:04, nearly 3 hours after takeoff, the plane eventually ran out of fuel. Despite the man's efforts to try to land it properly away from the city, the Boeing plunged into a hillside near Grammatiko in Greece, leaving nobody on board to survive its crash. Investigators concluded it was a costly mix of human error and mechanical oversight.
I ain't reading all that.
A simple switch left in the wrong position. A mistake no one caught in time.
Dude, like, so that guy woke up and he was like, really like, ugh. And he went to the captain's thing and he didn't even know how to fly. And he was just like, like he tried to move the plane away from the city because if he crashed into the city, he would kill a bunch more people. That is nice though that he ended up, putting it towards like a mountain or something. It still sucks that like all of them had to pass away or whatever, but dude, like it would have been cool if he could have just like angled it perfectly. If there was like an ocean nearby, angled it perfectly so that like it like just went like right over the ocean, then it like just kind of started sinking. I don't know what I'm trying to say. They still would have drowned.
Although devastating, the lives on the plane are still remembered till this day.
Wow.
Especially the heroic man who was able to veer the plane away from Athens City and stop it from crashing on hundreds of unsuspecting citizens.
Yep.
Oh, the humanity.
Oh, the humanity.
On May...
This says it's nightmare fuel. So this is showing how creepy these stories are. This might be the creepiest one, I think. Oh, God. All right.
6th, 1937.
Oh, of course, it's going to be 1937. I didn't even know they had planes, dude. I thought people were flying in like paper airplanes and stuff.
A luxurious German passenger airship, marketed as the peak of elegance and wealth, attempted to dock at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey after a transatlantic flight. Dozens of spectators gathered to watch the massive Zeppelin. It was 804 feet long, which is nearly twice the length of a Boeing 747.
Wow,
it also weighed nearly 500,000 pounds. But it only carried 97 people. The beautiful airship began to descend from the clouds, preparing itself to land. Then, without warning, disaster struck. You see, the ship was maneuvering during a thunderstorm and garnered a static electric charge within its metal frame. Normally, this wouldn't be too much of an issue if the ship was using helium, as it was quite literally designed to use it. But for political reasons in 1937, the United States refused to export helium to Germany.
Really?
And so individuals would go on to fill the airship with hydrogen instead, an extremely flammable gas. Even though the Germans knew this was very dangerous, they did it anyway. And so, as the Hindenburg hovered above the mooring mast, it dropped its landing ropes, which is theorized to have created a spark. In a flash, gigantic flames erupted near the tail of the ship, and within seconds, the entire airship was engulfed in fire, while it was still flying in the sky. The hydrogen gas keeping the Zeppelin afloat ignited into a breathing inferno, turning the proud airship into a falling torch as it floated 200 feet off the ground.
So what's happened?
People inside struggled for survival as the interior became an oven of smoke and flames. Many people and others collapsed from smoke inhalation.
Wow.
Ultimately, passengers became faced with the horrifying reality that their only escape from the ship was to jump 200 feet to the ground.
No.
People leapt from the burning craft as it collapsed to the ground in just 34 seconds.
Dude, he got damn battlefield footage.
The screams of passengers became
This is a video game. This is a video game, YouTube.
mixed with the roar of fire. And terrifying enough, 36 people would perish from this disaster.
Whoa.
But what really made this tragedy unforgettable was the live radio broadcast. Remember that this was going on in 1937? Many people never saw or even heard of things like this, especially on radio. Reporter Herbert Morrison, who was covering the landing, was overcome with horror as he cried out words that would echo through history.
All the humanity and all the passengers screaming around it. I don't do it. I can't talk to people.
Oh, the humanity.
Wow.
A phrase that became synonymous with the disaster, leaving many others to shout the same thing whenever witnessing another tragedy unfold.
Bro. So this guy was, his job was to do a radio broadcast talking about how this big new like airplane ship thing is landing, and then it just explodes and catches on fire, and he's just like, ah, dude, that is crazy. Hey, at the end of the video, he shows a video of a damn baby little goat to make everybody happy. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, always stay happy, bro.
What's up, dummies? Today we're about to react to the worst deaths in sports. Look at this. Somebody apparently died by a bull, like putting its freaking horn in his mouth and through his throat. Now, I didn't know that was a sport, but apparently bull riding is a sport. This guy died in cricket. I didn't even know cricket was a sport. Hopefully they show some football, some basketball deaths, because that would be sick. I mean, it won't be sick because people are going to be dying, but you know what I'm trying to say, bro. Also, I'm outside here. I'm on vacation. I'm still recording videos. We're about to find out about how people died during deaths. Dude, this is going to be awesome. Let's go. I'm outside. Feels good. Let's go.
Jack Trice, American football.
Okay,
On
we're
October
starting off with
6,
some football. Let's go.
1923, Jack Trice took the field as Iowa State's starting defensive tackle. He stood 6 feet tall and weighed 200 pounds. Early in the game, he sustained an injury to his shoulder during a collision, but he kept playing. In the third quarter,
Wait, hold on. So this guy got hurt on his shoulder, and then he kept playing, and then he's going to end up dying? Oh, my God. Okay, let's see what happens, bro.
Jack attempted a rolling block on an offensive play. He landed on his back. Several Minnesota players trampled over him. Their cleats tore into his abdomen and chest. The weight crushed down on his internal organs. Jack could not get up. His teammates helped him off the field. Team doctors examined him briefly on the sideline. They saw the shoulder injury, but missed everything else happening inside his body.
Oh, so they were like, oh, your shoulder's hurt, bro. And he was like people were stomping on his chest, and they didn't even check it because it was underneath the uniform and stuff. Oh, my God.
After the game, Jack was taken to a Minneapolis hospital for evaluation. Doctors cleared him to travel. They told him to rest. The team boarded the train back to Ames that evening. Jack lay on a makeshift straw mattress in a railroad car. The train rocked and swayed through the night. Nobody realized he was dying. The overnight journey was rough. Trice began having trouble breathing. When the train arrived in Ames on Sunday at 1 a.m., he was immediately taken to the campus hospital. His condition worsened throughout the day. Doctors discovered his injuries were far more severe than initially thought. His collarbone was broken. His abdomen and intestines were so severely damaged that surgery was too dangerous to attempt.
Bro, how did the first doctors not notice this? They said they took him to a hospital after the first game or whatever. How did they not notice this, bro? I mean, he did say this was like 1920, so they didn't even have like medicine back then, I'm pretty sure.
Internal bleeding was spreading through his body. On Monday afternoon, October 8th, 1923, around 3 o'clock, Jack Trice died from internal bleeding due to severe abdominal injuries.
So because a bunch of people tackled him and stepped on his stomach, he died?
Lane Frost, bull riding.
All right, here's
on
the
July
bull
30th,
riding.
1989.
Bull riding is dangerous because the bulls, they got long horns, right? And like they try to get you off. That's weird that the sport is made about you're riding this bull that's trying to get you the hell off of it. Like, that's
Lane
weird.
Frost walked through the gates at Cheyenne Frontier Days in Wyoming. He was 25 years old and one of professional rodeo's brightest stars. He had won the world championship in 1987, and people recognized him wherever he went. That afternoon, the draw assigned him a bull named Taken Care of Business. The bull had a reputation among riders. Big, strong.
That's pretty funny. The bull's name is Taking Care of Business, and I think this bull's going to end up killing him. So I guess it did take care of business.
Unpredictable. But Frost had ridden tougher bulls before. Behind the chutes, Frost prepared his equipment. He wrapped his hand in rosin. He adjusted his rope while other cowboys wished him luck. The crowd noise grew louder as his ride approached. The gate opened and Taken Care of Business exploded into the arena. The bull bucked and spun. Frost's body moved with the bull's rhythm. Riders need to last 8 seconds on the bull. The clock ticked down and the buzzer
that's the
sounded.
rule?
Frost had made a successful 85-point ride. He dismounted and landed
How the hell does he get 85 points, bro? I don't understand this bull riding. If you guys do bull riding, unsubscribe because y'all are weird.
on his feet in the dirt. The ride was over. The bullfighters were moving in to distract the animal. That was when something unexpected happened. Taken Care of Business turned back toward Frost. Normally, bulls are expected to run away after a dismount, but this one came back. It
He
lowered
was
its
mad.
head and drove its horn forward. The horn struck Frost in the back with tremendous force. It penetrated his body and tore through his internal organs.
Oh, dude. Oh, imagine a bull's horn just going right through your body. Oh, dude. He was like celebrating, like, 5 points.
Impact lifted him off his feet
Y'all like those sound effects? You guys know I'm not really good at editing, so I got to do my own sound effects. Like, what if I watch this?
and threw him forward into the mud.
That was stupid.
Bullfighters rushed between
You can
Frost
comment and tell me that was a stupid sound effect. You can admit it. It's okay.
and the bull. They waved their arms and shouted to draw the animal away. Medical personnel
They
ran
didn't
into
go
the
do
arena.
anything.
Frost lay face down in the dirt. He was not moving. The paramedics turned him over, but his face was covered in mud. He was not breathing. Lane Frost was rushed to the hospital, but was
Wow.
pronounced dead shortly after arrival.
Wow.
The horn had caused massive internal hemorrhaging. Philip Hughes, cricket. On
Cricket.
November
All right, we're gonna see what this is. Wait,
25th, 2014,
November 25th? That's literally my birthday, bro. Oh my god. Maybe this is a sign that I need to be more respectful to cricket. Let's see what this game is. I thought cricket was like a bug.
Philip Hughes arrived at Sydney Cricket Ground for a domestic Sheffield Shield match. Hughes was 25 years old when he played for South Australia against New South Wales. He was also a member of Australia's national team. This was supposed to be routine,
I've been to
just
Australia
another
before.
domestic match. A few
It's
moments
awesome.
later, the New South Wales bowler Sean
I heard that in Australia they banned social media for people under 16 years old. I saw that. I was at the gym. I was walking on the treadmill at the gym. And I saw the TV said like, "Oh, Australia banned social media." Dude, is that legit? Let me know.
Abbott began his run-up. He released the ball. It was a bouncer designed to rise toward the batsman's chest and head area.
This
Hughes
is like
read the delivery and
baseball.
decided to play a pull shot. He tried to hit the ball to the leg side, but he misjudged the bounce slightly. Instead of the ball arriving at chest height where he expected it, the ball rose higher. The ball struck the left side of
Don't
Hughes's
tell me he died by a ball in his throat. It's not funny, but
neck just below his helmet, rupturing his vertebral artery. The spot was unprotected. It was at the base of his skull, where the neck connects to the head. Hughes
Oh.
collapsed immediately. The ball had struck him in what medical experts call a kill zone. Paramedics worked on
What?
Hughes at the scene, but his brain was bleeding. He was later transported to St. Vincent's Hospital in nearby Darlinghurst. Surgeons operated to relieve pressure on his brain, but the bleeding would not stop. He died on November 27th, 2 days after
Wow.
being struck and 3 days before his 26th birthday.
oh my
Hank
god.
Gathers, basketball.
Basketball. All right, let's see basketball death. Dude, this is going to be sad.
On March 4th, 1990, Hank Gathers jogged onto the court at Gersten Pavilion in Los Angeles. Loyola Marymount was hosting Portland in a West Coast Conference tournament game. The crowd was loud. The atmosphere was electric. Gathers was 23 years old and
That is so young, bro.
one of college basketball's most dominant players. Then, the game tipped off. Loyola Marymount played at a frantic pace. They ran constantly, fast breaks, full court pressure, up
Wow.
and down. Gathers thrived in this system. He scored. He rebounded. He dominated. Early in the first half, teammate Terrell Lowry threw an alley-oop pass toward the basket. Gathers rose up and caught it. He threw down a powerful dunk. The crowd roared. Gathers landed and began jogging back on defense. That was when his legs gave out. He fell forward onto
Really?
the court. His body went limp. Teammates thought he was joking at first. Gathers sometimes clowned around, but
Why
this
would
time
he, bro? It's in the middle of a basketball game. Why would he just fall face first onto the ground, then be like, "Nice"? Like, bro, maybe if there was like a timeout and you guys were winning by 60 points, or what the
was different. He was not moving. Coaches ran onto the court. Medical staff rushed over, but Gathers had become unconscious. They began
Really?
CPR immediately before paramedics arrived
Did he
and
hit
took
his
over.
head on the ground?
Paramedics worked to revive him before transporting him to Marina del Rey Hospital, where he was pronounced dead less than an hour later.
What?
The cause was hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Huh?
His heart muscle had grown abnormally thick. The condition restricted blood flow and caused fatal arrhythmia. The game was never finished. Ayrton Senna, Formula One. On May 1st,
Okay, this
1994,
is a race
Ayrton
car.
Senna climbed into his Williams-Renault FW16.
This might be a crazy story, dude. Like, dude, these race car and NASCAR things, bro. I've heard of people who died in NASCAR, like Dale Earnhardt. Dude, like these driving sports are dangerous because they're going so
for the
fast.
San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, Italy. He was 34 years
Imola,
old and a
Italy.
three-time Formula One world champion.
Damn,
Siena was
3
considered one of the
championships.
greatest drivers in racing history. The weekend had already been marred by tragedy. On Friday, driver Rubens Barrichello crashed heavily during practice. On Saturday, Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger died after a crash during qualifying.
Wait,
Senna
what?
was deeply affected by Ratzenberger's death. He visited the crash site that evening and spoke with race officials about safety. He questioned whether racing should continue, but the decision
Yeah, okay. On Friday, somebody crashed really bad and they sent to the hospital. On Saturday, somebody crashed and died. So they're doing another race on Sunday, bro? Cancel it.
was made. The Grand Prix would proceed.
Oh my
Then came the race
gosh.
day with a heavy atmosphere. The start was chaotic. Multiple crashes on the first lap brought out the safety car. When racing resumed on lap 5, Senna led the field. On lap 7, he approached the Tamburello corner at approximately 192 miles per hour. But something
Damn.
doesn't feel right. Senna's car failed to turn. It continued straight off the track. He tried to brake. The car slowed to approximately 135 miles
Oh,
per
he's
hour
done.
before striking a concrete wall. The impact was
He's
violent.
done.
The car's right front wheel and suspension were torn off. One end of the suspension penetrated the cockpit and struck Senna in the helmet with devastating force. The race was stopped
Oh.
immediately. Medical personnel extracted Senna from the wreckage, but he was already unconscious and not breathing on his own. A
Oh.
medical helicopter transported him to Maggiore Hospital in
He's
Bologna.
done.
Doctors
Wait, what? Oh, okay, I'm not laughing at him.
breathing on his own.
Did I
A
hear
medical
that right?
helicopter transported him to Maggiore Hospital in Bologna.
Bro, he got transported to a hospital in Bologna. No, they are not saving him.
Doctors worked frantically, but Senna's injuries were too
Hungry
severe.
ass
He had
town.
sustained a fatal skull fracture and massive brain trauma. Ayrton Senna was pronounced dead at 6:40 p.m.
2
Benny
people
Kid
died
Parrott,
on that course.
boxing. On March
Benny Kid
24th,
Parrott,
1962,
Okay,
Benny
so I think this video is every single sport known to man. We're finding out people who died. So that's kind of cool. I thought it was going to be like football, but it's like every single sport. We got racing, boxing. So this is going to be an entertaining ass video.
Parrott climbed into the ring at Madison Square Garden in New York. He was
Wow,
defending
that's
his
a big
welterweight
arena.
title against Emil Griffith. This was their third fight. Each man had won once.
I
The
didn't know
rivalry
somebody
had turned
died
bitter
in
after
boxing.
Parrott called Griffith a derogatory slur at the weigh-in. The fight began with both men trading punches, but by round 12, Parrott was exhausted. Griffith, seeing an opportunity, trapped Parrott against the ropes in a neutral corner. He unleashed a rapid barrage of over 24 punches in seconds. Parrott's head
I'm gonna
snapped
add
back
sound
with
effects.
each blow. His arms dropped and his legs buckled, but the ropes kept him upright. Griffith kept punching. The referee finally stepped in and stopped the fight. Parrott collapsed unconscious. He was carried from the ring on a stretcher. An ambulance
okay?
rushed him to Roosevelt Hospital. Surgeons operated to relieve pressure, but the damage was too severe. Benny Parrott never regained consciousness. He remained in a
God.
coma for 10 days. On April 3rd, 1962, he died from a massive brain hemorrhage.
Wow.
Nodar Kumaritashvili, Lug.
What the hell is this? Okay, I'm really excited to see what the hell Nodar Komatrashamali Luigi
On
is.
February 12th, 2010, Nodar Kumaritashvili prepared for his final training run at the Whistler Sliding Center in British Columbia, Canada. The 2010 Winter Olympics opening ceremony was scheduled for that evening. The world's media was gathered.
Dude, I
Athletes-
love the Olympics because I used to play Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games on the Nintendo Wii. Dude, that game was so fire. And even Mario and Sonic at the London Olympic Games. Both of the Mario and versus Sonic Olympic games were so good, dude. Like you would like have the Wii controller and like I would the 100-meter sprint. and it would be like, go, and you would have to like do that to be fast, bro. I was always trying to increase my score. Dude, that was so fun. I love the Olympics just because of that game. Mario and Sonic, shout out.
From every nation were preparing. Kumaritashvili was 21 years old from the
What?
country of Georgia.
21?
He competed in luge, one of the most dangerous sports in the Winter Olympics.
What the hell is
Riders
luge?
lie on their backs on a small sled and slide down an icy track at
Oh, I've
speeds
seen
exceeding
that
90
before.
miles per hour. There is
I
no
didn't know-
braking, no steering wheel, just subtle body movements to guide the sled.
I
The
didn't know it
Whistler
was
track
called
was the
that.
fastest luge track ever built. It featured 16 turns and dropped 499 feet over nearly a mile of ice.
Dude, that's
Multiple
dope.
athletes had crashed during training in the days before. Several had expressed concerns, but Olympic officials said the track was safe. Around 10:50 a.m., Kumaritashvili pushed off and began his run. His sled accelerated down the ice. Turn after turn passed. His speed increased with each section. By turn 16, he was traveling approximately 90 miles per hour. Coming
Yeah,
out of
he's
turn
done.
16, his sled lost stability. The runners
He's
caught an
done.
edge on the ice. The sled began to wobble. Kumaritashvili tried to correct it, but at those speeds, small movements become amplified. The sled veered left toward the outer wall of the track and struck an unpadded steel support beam just beyond the outer wall of the track. The impact was violent. Medical personnel rushed to him immediately, but Kumaritashvili had sustained massive blunt force trauma to his head and torso. The head injuries caused immediate death. Marco Simoncelli, MotoGP. On
All right.
October 23, 2011, Marco Simoncelli lined up on the starting grid
Oh,
at
this is the
Sepang International
motorcycle.
Circuit in Malaysia. He was 24 years old and was known for his aggressive riding style and his wild curly hair that flowed out from under his helmet. Fans loved him. Fellow riders respected him. At the beginning of the race, everything looks calm. No incidents. The riders settled into their rhythm. Then, lap 2 began. This was when things started taking a tragic turn. The field approached turn 11, a medium-speed right-hand corner. Simoncelli was in the middle of the pack. He leaned the bike over to begin the turn. Then, his rear tire lost grip. The back of the Honda slid sideways. Simoncelli felt the slide and
See,
tried
that's the thing, bro. In these MotoGP, have you ever seen pictures or even videos of them? When they turn, they get so close. I'm gonna throw up a picture right now, just to explain what I'm talking about. You guys know, I'm the best editor ever. Perfect. Okay, look at this, bro. Dude, they're getting so close to the ground, bro. Like if your knee scrapes it, bro, your knee's gonna come off. That's a dangerous sport, bro.
to save it, but the bike slid sideways directly across the racing line. Other riders were coming at full racing speed. There was no time to react, no time to brake, no time to swerve. Colin Edwards was directly behind. His bike struck Simoncelli's body.
Oh,
Valentino
fuck.
Rossi was also beside Edwards. His bike struck Simoncelli's helmet.
Oh,
Both
it's
impacts
over.
occurred at approximately 75 miles per hour.
It's over.
The force tore Simoncelli's helmet off his head. His body tumbled across the track.
It's over, bro.
Bikes and riders slid in multiple
Goodbye.
directions. Debris scattered everywhere. Race control immediately red flagged the race. Medical personnel ran onto the track.
He's
but
done.
Simoncelli had already sustained massive head, neck, and chest trauma. He was transported to the Circuit Medical Center. Shortly after arrival, Marco Simoncelli was pronounced dead.
Yeah.
Marc Vivien Foé, soccer.
Soccer.
On June
Okay,
26,
let's see what happens on
2003,
this soccer.
Cameroon faced Colombia in the FIFA Confederations Cup semifinal at Stade de Gerland in Lyon, France. The evening was warm. The stadium was full. This was an important match. The winner would advance to the final. Marc Vivien Foé played defensive midfield for Cameroon. He was 28 years old and one of Africa's best players. He had played for Manchester City in England and was on loan to Lyon. He was experienced and fit. He ran constantly during matches. The game was physical and competitive. In the 72nd minute, Foé was jogging back toward his defensive position. He was not involved in immediate play. No contact had occurred. No collision. Nothing unusual. Then
Don't tell me
suddenly
he
he
just
collapsed.
falls over.
Foé fell face first onto the
Dude,
grass.
This
His
is
body went
an
completely limp.
issue.
Players nearby immediately recognized something catastrophic had happened.
People just
They
like
waved
fall
frantically for
over
medical staff.
in
Medical
sports.
personnel sprinted onto the field. They found Foé unconscious and not breathing. Despite all efforts, Marc Vivien Foé was pronounced dead about 45 minutes after collapsing. The cause was
Wow.
hypertrophic cardiomyopathy,
The
a
same
heart
thing.
condition where the heart muscle thickens abnormally. Owen Hart, WWE.
Ooh,
On May
WWE
23,
people died?
1999,
What?
Owen Hart prepared for his entrance at the WWE Over the Edge pay-per-view event in Kansas City. He
Dude,
was
I used to
34 years
love
old
WWE
and
as a
performing
kid.
as the Blue Blazer, a superhero parody character. The entrance involved being lowered from the arena rafters on a cable.
I've
Hart was
seen
harnessed
this
and lifted
before.
78 feet above the
I
ring.
heard about this before. I don't know if it was, yeah, it was in a different video, but I'm not going to sit through it again because I already know what the hell happens. But he was supposed to come down and then he just like fell and died. So I'm going to skip that. All right, bet.
2001,
NASCAR.
Dale Earnhardt drove his black number 3 Chevrolet around Daytona International Speedway.
My dad loves
The Daytona
NASCAR.
500 was on its final lap. The biggest race of the NASCAR season was coming to a dramatic finish. Earnhardt was 49 years old and a 7-time NASCAR champion. He was known as the Intimidator.
Yeah, he was pretty
for his
good, like
aggressive
one of the
driving
best
style.
ones at the
He was
time.
a legend. His son Dale Earnhardt Jr. and teammate Michael Waltrip were running first and second. Earnhardt was running third.
Oh
but
my
he was not
God.
trying
Wait,
to
his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr., was racing at the same time that his dad died? I didn't know he was in the race. Oh, snap. My battery's running low. Plug in the PC. Wait, what is my battery at? Oh my God. My battery's at 10%. All right. We're going to finish this story,
He was
hopefully.
blocking other cars behind him to protect his
Hopefully.
teammates.
Oh my God.
Suddenly,
Man, it's not
Sterling
gonna-
Marlin's car
We got
came
to
up.
bring this inside. Hold on. We got to bring the whole setup inside. All right, hold on. We're going to go here. We're going to bring this. I'm keeping you guys here. I'm keeping it. This is like the best reaction video ever. Okay, we're going to go inside real quick. Hopefully my camera does not die because I don't want to lose this video. I'm having fun. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. We're going to have to put the computer down. What the hell is wrong with this stupid computer? All right, I plugged it in. Let's go. Are we good? Are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Are we charging? Hold on. Okay, we're charging, but there's some bad news. I don't have anything to hold my camera, so I'm gonna be holding it with my hand. That is so stupid, but it's so fire. Let's go.
Behind Earnhardt in turn 4. Contact was made. At that point, Earnhardt's car got loose. The rear end slid sideways. He tried to correct the slide, but before he could, Ken Schrader's car also made contact. The combined impacts sent Earnhardt's car shooting toward the outside
And he
wall.
died.
He was traveling approximately 155 miles per hour.
Yeah,
The
it's
car
over.
hit the concrete
It's
barrier
over.
head on. The sudden deceleration caused a basilar skull fracture. The base of Earnhardt's skull separated
Why
from
does
his
everyone keep dying from that skull fracture, bro? In sports, that is a very important spot, I guess, because I've seen like 4 people in this video